Yeah.
Still doing well?
He was in today. He did his 2 hours, 2 hours a day this week. If all goes well, 3 next week, and add an hour a week till he's back in work. But she's hoping he doesn't get back to the goal anymore.
Yeah.
Did anyone look at the packet for last week?
Yeah, the one that we copied is one I had made some notes on. I quickly went through and found a few things, but
Was Tom really asking for the first vote?
there was one he had stepped out for a minute, so.
I
That was
thought
a
that was-
later vote.
that was a later vote.
Later in the meeting. He was here at the beginning.
He
Yeah,
was
you
here
got
for-
it down for later in the meeting. You got one on the.
Yeah, but somebody marked you absent for the very first one. I thought I had it right with the later
I
one.
thought I was there, but maybe I wasn't. know,
Maybe you weren't
it's hard
paying,
to-
maybe you weren't paying attention. Maybe that's,
Well, I was asking you a bunch of questions. Good, too.
I'll check my
like in
notes,
school,
Danielle,
okay.
to be sure, because there was also one,
She's got the.
It's down there, Brian. It's there.
yeah, I thought it was.
I just looked at it. It's okay.
I'm not
I've
seeing
been
it on
through this.
here.
It's okay.
It's- Number 35 was the one he was actually out of the room for.
There's only one.
Just want to be sure.
As far as there at the beginning, I think I said I was here.
For 35, yeah. Yep, that one's okay. All right, yeah.
That was the only one.
I don't think it was for that, for the minutes. I don't know how that happened.
And I know what
We'll
happened
fix
with
that.
Mr. Copies. That's just, that one, every time we reprint,
Yeah,
somebody shifts. That's one of those.
it's in that box, the text box here. Okay, it is 7 by all accounts that can be measured. We have Gary Condon here this evening. Gary drove up from Glens Falls, so we're going to give Gary a chance to address us. And then we have Mr. Von Bargen, and then we'll, I think, go to the public comment session at that time, so we can get these folks out of here. Why, and I guess you and I, Gary, had some chat. The board was interested in learning more about some options, and you had shared, and I told them, you had shared with us a wireless option, and I didn't bring that forward. And there were some other questions, and I said, I'm just not gonna represent you and the options of the company. I need you to do that, and then let everybody here who's got a question bring that forward. We've been with Cornerstone for a few years.
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5, and we have 9, I believe it is, units that are
11.
served that way, 11.
11 or
And
12. I thought it was 12.
I think one of them got put on seasonal suspend or something, maybe, one of the lines.
But there are 12 lines.
I looked this morning, there's 11 active in the billing system.
Yeah, that's probably because South Plattsburgh, we mothball a couple buildings during the winter, so
Right,
hopefully
so
they
it's
show.
just one,
But there is 12 in the summertime, there's 12.
right. And it's not a wireless option, it's a IP option. So basically internet protocol.
Cliff Haven, is that the one that's off? I got a note on the chart that was inactive.
That one, the building's open there, should be
I
South
don't know why
Plattsburgh.
that would be.
Yeah.
Well,
Curious, but
we've got 12 lines, 11 may be active, but I think what we want to know more about is the service and the options. So I'll let you
Right.
help us out with
So
that.
you also have different vendors providing telecommunication services. Verizon has, it looks like 12 phone lines that they're currently billing for. And you also have a PRI circuit with this building through West Telecom, I believe. So what that enables you to do is you have about 100 phone numbers that come into the building. They terminate to that circuit, so it can dial direct to the supervisor's desk or any individual phone. So what I did is I looked to consolidate all those different vendors and bills so that Cornerstone could provide that service as a single point of contact. And then I broke down in a line item the cost measures, what Verizon's charging you, what West Telecom is charging, and what the bottom line savings would be. The only variable that I didn't have information to is on the PRI circuit. It didn't detail on invoicing any local minutes. We charge a penny two per minute. So, for instance, if you had 10,000 outbound local minutes, it'd be an additional $120 to our bottom line here. So in that scenario, you'd still realize a $200 monthly savings.
You'd be generating the billing?
Yes.
On that billing, one thing I've talked to Paul about, is a concern that I have, and I think he agrees, when we take a look at our long distance calls that generate from, they all generate from the 6,800 number, I believe.
Right.
We can't tell which station, which unit to, you know what I'm saying? Which,
Allocate the funds.
yes,
So-
where's it coming from? Where's the phone call actually coming from? Which employee, which handset? I'd like to know if, you know, if we've got an employee that's making calls to Canada, I'd like to make sure that we are authorizing that person to call Canada. They're not
Yeah.
checking on,
In our last meeting, we discussed that, and there's a measure we can put in place, they're called account codes. So basically, you can assign each individual a 3 or 4 digit code, and every time they go to make a long distance call, they have to put their code in for the call to complete, and that gets passed through on the billing as you get your monthly billing statement. So you would be able to track every employee's long distance calls.
How much more is that?
There's no charge for those.
What was that called again, Gary?
Account codes,
Just account codes, okay. And no charge for that. Okay. Paul, you had some questions too about wireless in some of those
Yeah,
sites?
to go wireless with any one of the cell phone providers, because we currently have both providers providing cell phones to the town. I mean, I know I have it in my house, and it works great, you keep your same local number, nothing changes, it's like $10 a month. I didn't know commercially, and we talked about commercially if it was more or whatever, but it seemed like we were paying a lot more than $10 a month for those phone lines, you know, and we didn't know if that's an option. I mean, these phones get used very rarely, they're really for emergency only, especially in the recreation buildings, so, you know, one of them gets a little bit of a volume of calls, but we're expecting that to probably be reduced because it's through JCEO, so I didn't know.
we don't provide a wireless option like that,
Mhm.
and I really don't know the pricing model
Okay.
from the other providers in a business site. And as well as the stability of the service, I mean, I imagine it's fairly decent,
Mhm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I can't really speak to
I
that.
know my dad, with the unit Paul's talking about, my dad has it, and he brings it with him to Florida. It's just, he dial his regular phone number wherever he's at, as long as it's plugged in, I'm able to get a hold. So that's what you're talking about, I don't know what it's called, but Verizon offers it, I think some of the other wireless providers offer it.
I thought for some reason that was an option with you as well.
And I really don't see it very often in the business segment. It's more of a residential service.
Okay.
Well, and again, because really they're emergency phones, and, you know, the number of people that are at an athletic event today that, you know, out of 40 people, 30 of them don't have a cell phone in their pocket is probably pretty remote that we wouldn't have a phone there anyway. So spending, you know, what amounts to, you know, $3,000–4,000 a year for phones that really hardly ever get used is just, that's the reason that we're really talking about trying to go another option and saving some money, so.
So getting back to this, where did you come up with the proposed savings? How did that work out? I mean, give me some more specifics on that.
So you have the access for the PRI, which I priced out, that's a 100 meg by 5 meg circuit. That's $266, you can see it in the right-hand column, proposed. Then you've got the block of the 100 DIDs, they're the actual phone numbers. That's what that cost is. And then you have the ISDN PRI, which is the West Telecom circuit, what you're currently paying for that. $12.75. Then you've got 12 Verizon lines. What they charge you now, what our proposed cost would be. And then you've got the 11 lines that we currently bill you for, which will actually go down in cost versus what you're currently paying. Then the local usage, again, I didn't have any call detail on it, so I could only guess. I think 10,000 minutes is a pretty high number.
That's how many,
That's outbound local, any outbound local calls over the course of the month.
And it would include this building if all of that's together,
That would be for this building.
and all the other 12 lines.
There was virtually no usage on any of those other
Right,
lines.
right.
So, I think 10,000 minutes is a pretty safe assumption.
and any long distance calls will happen?
You're paying 3.9 cents now, and we would match that rate.
How do we go from the PRI at 612 current to 0?
Because we're quoting a different type of access, the 266.65, second line item.
So is this turning into voice over IP for all of those,
All those
all those
DAs.
lines?
Yep, and that's why I went with a 100 meg by 5 meg circuit. We can get as low as a 15 by 2 is the lowest speed,
They're offering this.
but I feel more comfortable with a higher speed so that we can give you better quality. And the way it works is we bring up a piece of equipment, a piece of hardware, put it on site, it interfaces with your phone system.
Yeah, I'm not, Scott Stoddard probably should have a little bit to do with this, Bernie, because if we go voice over IP in those water and sewer buildings, you'd eliminate the need to transmit a lot of that stuff through the SCADA system over an antenna, which we've seen quite a bit of repair work to the antenna system with a couple of lightning strikes, so.
And there's been some inconsistency at well 1 and 2 that they told us about last month on our tour. There's been times when the system's been down, and that's a main well. There's a chlorination plant there and everything else, so it's something that you can't afford to have down. It has to stay able to be monitored.
But if we went with voice over IP, what are the conditions under which that would be down?
For example,
I don't know. I mean, the concern is the existing system has had times when the lines are down, it doesn't work, we can't get connectivity. I don't know the technology well enough to know in this voice over IP, what are the conditions under which that would fail to
you're
work?
currently, your service is being provided over Verizon copper ultimately. The existing PRI, it's a 4-wire copper circuit. What I'm proposing is an internet circuit that's coming in and utilizing Charter, because we can bill and support Charter as well as Time Warner and all the other cable companies. So we can consolidate your billing, but it would come in on an internet circuit. If the internet circuit goes down, what we do beforehand is we assign an auto call reroute number or a group of numbers. So in the event that the internet goes down, our switch will automatically direct traffic to pre-designated numbers so that you can at least receive inbound.
Is that still through the internet though?
It's through our switch. And
Right.
once it hits our switch sees that the circuit's down. We can push it over to the copper lines if you want to designate.
Okay, that's what I meant,
Right.
because if the internet's down, new line isn't, you gotta go to a,
It would fall over.
then jump to copper.
Back to copper.
And we don't have that backup option from copper to internet now. I'm pretty sure we don't.
No, it's rarely done.
That's, yeah, that's interesting.
But we also don't have Charter at some of those outlying buildings either, so I mean, some of that would have to be installed into those buildings. All we've got is a phone line, we don't have.
I don't know if we have it on any of them.
No, I'm proposing just keeping copper at those buildings,
Okay.
because most of them are like a 1 or 2 phone line scenario.
So the voiceover would only be with the lines with the water department, but you have the same issue where there's no internet
It would be,
services.
the way I'm proposing it is any services that are provided in this building, whatever departments reside here, that work off your phone system.
This doesn't include any of those other applications.
None
Also,
of
the outlying buildings wouldn't have voice over IP.
That would be a separate.
Okay.
Okay, only the main town hall.
And our rec buildings, because that's already on here also.
If
No,
it-
because they don't have, if May Courier may have, I think it probably does, but
The
That would be the only one.
additional 11 services down here, make sure I'm quoting the right one. The 274.45, you said those are the rec buildings, correct?
That we
Yes.
currently bill for.
Would they be
Okay.
copper lines, not voice over
Those
IP?
are
Okay.
copper, yep.
But the service for them is already on here.
Yes.
So again, any departments that would terminate to the phone system at this building would be included in the voice over IP.
So if that's $24.95 per line, when we go to 12 lines, there's really, we're right back up to the 301. I mean, is that, the $24 we're saving there is, we're very close to that 20, what is that, 298?
Well, you'd increase the other side by 27 too, so they would both go up. So you'd be about 330 to 300, so you'd still realize the savings of that additional line.
Okay.
For this building, would that I assume that would require a change in hardware as well?
Only piece of hardware that we bring in that communicates between the phone system and our switch in the central
But
office.
the desk phones that went to voice over would have to change.
Nope. Our piece of equipment, all it does is it just receives and takes the signal from the phone system. So when you dial out, it goes through our piece of equipment, tells it direct the traffic to our switch, and when calls come in, our piece of equipment just hands it off to the phone system. So nothing internally would change,
Existing desktop phones.
nothing would change. 'Cause we can hand off the protocol any way you want, we can hand it off digital IP, we can hand it off PRI, we can hand it off copper, analog copper. We just work with your phone system vendor to tell us which way they need to see the calls come through, and what protocol.
Gary, we've talked a couple times over the years. Can you give the board just a little background concerning the company, accounts, years in existence type thing?
Yep. So we started in 2001, January 2001, so we're 12 years old now. I've owned the company 10 years. And our business was built originally on basically selling phone service. And then as the technology's changed, we got into selling DSL, and then we bought our own switch. Once we purchased our own switch, that allowed us to provide IP services. So like voice over IP. So all we really need to do at this point is get an internet connection to bring the voice back to our switch. So we provide services all over the country. Right now, within New York State, I believe it's about 160 municipalities that we provide service for. We own a small independent telephone company in Western Mass, on the infrastructure, the wire in the streets, things like Verizon is here. We own a data center in New York City. We have 2 data centers in Albany. Our annual revenues are about 40 million. And we service about 13,000 phone lines currently.
Thank you.
What's the guarantee on this? You get the contract, something doesn't work?
Well, there's service level agreements that are put in place. So if there's guaranteed uptime and if there's downtime based on percentage of, it gets pretty granular on amount of downtime and how much credit is assessed based on downtime. So you're covered in that aspect. You need to provide a copy of that.
First agreement I believe we signed was in December 2006. At least that's when I have a copy of it. I'm not aware of any issues, problems, or concerns that we've had along the way.
We were staying with the 1-year agreement.
That was
The
12.
quote is, the quote's not
3
tied.
years, it says.
It's got
No,
3-year
no,
savings,
I'm
but
sorry, right.
you projected out a 3-year savings, but we are just considering a 1-year agreement.
Okay. That may impact the cost of the circuit.
Or could it be a 2 or a 3? I mean, you're in, you don't care, right?
Well, it will probably impact the cost of the circuit a little bit, the 260, 665. That's
Mhm.
based on 3-year pricing.
Okay.
That was,
Good
okay.
question.
Yep. But
Because
it'll-
initially, when we were talking about it, before you came with this proposal, we were talking about a 1-year agreement.
Right, and that was basically to renew the 11, 12
Right,
lines that we
right.
currently
And I understand now
service.
you're proposing a much larger service.
Right.
We're definitely looking at a sizable savings. It's very appealing to look at it, but I wanna make sure that, you know, if we're not going to realize this, that we're going to have the opportunity to opt out. I don't wanna be locked into 3 years and find out that the almost $4,000 worth of savings is not there.
Right, understood.
Any disputes with arbitration?
Not that I'm aware of.
Hmm?
Not that I'm aware of.
If anybody else has any other questions, I don't want to keep Gary
No.
from
No, I'd
getting
rather-
back home, but he came a long way for,
I'd rather address any questions while I'm here.
yeah.
Right.
Well,
No,
that,
I'm- all my concerns have been answered. Paul, I knew you had a lot more.
Yeah, no. Well, the whole, I mean, the voice over IP is renewing it, going back and not doing something was just not rational, so.
And I could touch on the service aspect.
but that's voice over IP by extending the service
Right.
to this building, which we weren't, we were renewing and keeping the current service where it is.
Well, and I still think, before we enter into this, we still need to look at the wireless side of things versus it, because they're used so limitedly, that if the wireless side is considerably cheaper, we still need to consider that.
But you're still thinking of that for the,
For the 12 outlying buildings.
yeah. And I don't know what that would require to make that happen, but you can probably know more about that.
Yeah, an outlet.
You know, and another thing, and I don't want to speak for Gary, but Gary's proposing an entire package here.
Mhm.
If we start picking it apart, I don't know what we're looking at. I mean, I already threw out, is this pricing for 1 year or for 3 years, and we found out it's for 3 years. If we now start to eliminate the additional services of our 11 or 12 rec buildings or outbuildings, now what happens to the proposal? So, I think all of that needs to be considered.
Yep. Agreed.
What is taking those 12 lines out due to this, Gary? Is it that,
Which 12?
that if we took the 12 lines and went wireless,
The Verizon lines?
yeah, yes. No, the 11 additional, the lines you currently serve. If we took those out and went to wireless with those.
Just those 11 and not the 12 Verizon lines?
Right.
Correct.
You're looking at $25 difference.
But I mean, it doesn't affect other than that, it doesn't affect the other pricing.
Line by line, we could take out that $274 and the rest of this would be intact.
That's a $30 a month savings that we might be able to parlay into something more than $30 a month. But it wouldn't affect your proposal. Okay.
Good question. As far as the service side of it, the way we interface with, on the Verizon side, in this case, Trevor, we interface through GUI systems, electronic software systems. So we can go into your accounts, like for instance, these Verizon lines. We can actually ping to the DMARC, which is where the lines terminate and get handed off internally. And we can do testing right from our office in Troy. And that determines if we open up a trouble ticket with Verizon and dispatch our tech, or if we can see the DMARC, then chances are maybe it's an internal issue, the phone system needs to be reset, something's not right. So we can do that, and the way I proposed it too was that for the billing side of it, we could put everything on one bill for you. Break everything out in sub-accounts, and even go as granular as account codes, so you could track client distance.
That's gonna help us out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when I was given the stack of Verizon bills, it was like,
You talked about serving municipalities. You do school districts?
yes,
Quite a few.
yep.
I don't know, well, we get one bill with sub-accounts because budget office has to bill to various departments and accounts, so we still need to, as you say, break it down and get as granular. So we may be sending one, but internally, we still gotta pull money out of a variety of accounts.
Right. But you're not looking at multiple bill cycles and cutting checks.
That- yeah.
No, no.
7 different days a month. and-
Vouchers,
Right. Yeah.
time is
Yeah.
money.
Having one that's detailed would be a huge plus.
Paul, the wireless, I know what wireless phones are, I'm trying to visualize that in the Parks and Rec buildings. A handheld unit that sits on a charger that,
Nope, you can actually wire in your own, the phone you have on the wall, you can wire it back into the wireless system. You could put it above the ceiling. You don't even have to
Because
see
I
it.
like that bolted to the wall with a coily cord on
You
the
have that,
receiver.
all you have to do is have a power outlet where you're gonna put it in, you plug it in, it sends a wireless signal, and you can wire back, actually take a phone jack, there's a jack in the back of the wireless receiver, you plug it right in, and that phone would be hardwired right back.
Hardwire right into your existing
The,
phone system.
transmitter.
Yep,
I like that.
yep.
Yeah, and really the only difference between that and a copper line coming in is, in the event that the power goes out, there's still enough voltage on a copper line to make a phone call.
Yeah.
So,
And how often that, and I don't know what the probability is, when somebody's there needs it and the power's out. The power's out, the building's dark.
But like Paul says,
And
you're
again,
probably gonna be.
30 out of
Yeah.
40 people have cell phones, so.
right.
How about 39?
I thought you were gonna say 40 out of 30. There are a lot of them with 2, 3 straps.
Right.
Yeah.
One out of 40?
Which is why the phone hardly ever gets taken off the wall to make a call.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're chewing on this a little bit with you because, get you thinking how we're thinking, you can, you know, offer some ideas, suggestions. The second proposal around is a lot different than just extending, and it's a little more radical change, but the savings are measurable, so. I just don't know, as a board, I said it to Gary, I get a little uncomfortable if we wouldn't talk with other providers and say, here's what we're looking at doing, to be sure we've maxed out the savings. You know, it kind of opens Pandora's box, and we gotta cross all the T's, because we hadn't started with this. But you've always had some
Well-
pretty healthy numbers, that's why we went with you in 2006.
If we're going with a 3-year deal and spending that kind of money, we'd be required to get pricing from 2 other vendors anyway, so.
Yep. And I think that's probably more to our advantage than not to go long-term, not only the savings, but it's a lot of time for the companies, a lot of time for us to keep revisiting these things.
When you project it out 2 or 3 years, are you anticipating increases each year?
Those would be fixed rates, right?
Fixed rates.
For the life of the contract.
Yeah, the only time that there's any chance of an increase is if our underlying wholesale carriers raise the rates. And if they raise the rates to us, they raise the rates to all
Mhm.
companies. So that would be the only event that would.
So if we got a 1-year deal or 2-year deal, then the next year, we could assume that it was gonna be similar price, other than the fact that the cell phone towers rent.
Almost 4 cents a minute for long distance.
Okay, again, it's a fine balance between respecting Gary's time to get back and also making sure he got to say what he
Gary, do you know
needed.
what we pay with Verizon per minute for long distance?
I think that's what he put down was 4 cents.
I don't, no,
That's,
I don't
you said
think
our
it was
current
actually,
rate.
I don't
I think
it
the
was.
3.9 is your price, is the price you're gonna charge, right? 3.9 per minute.
But you had a current rate of the exact same amount.
That was the long distance on the PRI with this building.
Isn't that what you're talking about? You're talking about the 4 cents. It's .039.
Yes.
It's the same rate as what we're current rate.
Okay, you're gonna match that, okay.
The Verizon rate typically on a intra-Atlantic call, which is anything outside of local within 518, is anywhere from 8 to 13 cents. And then on their true long distance, which is outside of 518 to the rest of the world, or the rest of the country, is I've seen them anywhere from 5 to 11, 12 cents.
Okay.
Okay, anyone have anything else
No.
at this point? We really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll be in touch, I guess.
This
back. Thank you. Mr. Von Bargen. Good evening. Lake Champlain grant opportunity. Now, we have a resolution 47 for later this evening. And I don't know if you want to reference that. You got a little information relative to that. This is an opportunity that came to us also in the 11th hour. And it's timely, as I indicated to you, because the grant proposal has to be on, I think, the 18th. I had a couple emails back and forth with Julia Moore from Stone Environmental in Vermont, and her responses with my emails led me to support a meeting, and I passed this on to Phil and Scott and Jim, and they saw some value. We then scheduled a meeting with her last week, and the staff was very favorable with what benefits we might get. And as I understand the process, we would be participating in an RFP that they would write for funding. As you probably saw in the draft resolution, at no expense to the town. We aren't paying to get the resolution written. We wouldn't pay for delivery and administration of the grant funds. The way the Champlain Basin manages that, if they approve the project, the money goes to the firm that's going to develop the project. So it doesn't mean we don't ever do anything, but we have an opportunity. And Phil, maybe one thing that would be helpful, if you could summarize what the opportunity and benefit to the town would be, maybe starting back to the master plan, and give us that in a nutshell.
Just cutting to the chase, the Lake Champlain Basin Program, which this is the money source for this from, it's an EPA organization. When you cross the ferry and you look up the hill where the fish hatchery is off on the other side of the road, where the big water tower is, they're located right over there around the corner in the stone house right there on that main street. That's the Lake Champlain Basin Program. There are a number of initiatives that the Lake Champlain Basin Program pursues associated with environmental quality. And one of the big ones is, pollutant loading into Lake Champlain, because it's a basin-wide program. And development is a huge source of phosphorus loading into Lake Champlain. So you'll see a lot of the monies that are channeled through the Lake Champlain Basin Program having an emphasis on reducing phosphorus into the Lake Champlain water body. Since we're an urban municipality on Lake Champlain, we are one of the contributors as a consequence of development through both the construction and then the post-development effects from the pollutants that might come from parking lots, activities on a particular development site. So this program or this grant opportunity that exists is intended to help a community do an assessment on its stormwater components from an infrastructure standpoint, and then to parlay that knowledge into some demonstrations, some model demonstrations for some of the current, what we refer to as, you gotta love this terminology, green initiatives for managing water quality issues associated with the consequence of development that occurs in communities. We're fortunate in this town, and let me quickly also point out that there are two components to stormwater. The first one being quantitative. In other words, when you take a surface that is earth and water hits it, the rate of runoff from that surface is different than now make it a smooth, impervious layer that the water no longer soaks into the ground and just kind of runs off in quantity. So our town zoning ordinance regulates stormwater management already from a quantitative standpoint. We have been watching for the last 10 years that the qualitative side to stormwater management is being given more look by New York State. And so in addition to the zoning ordinance aspects of quantitative control of stormwater. New York State looks and controls activities of greater than 1 acre in disturbance for qualitative purposes. And so when we do a stormwater review in the town, we also indirectly participate in the quality side. New York State's regulation of stormwater is getting through, because of the hand down from the EPA to the state level and then to the municipal level, has been pushing that down to the municipal level. We are not a regulated community, but somewhere in the next 10 years, we will become what is referred to as a MS4 community, where many of the components of the state regulation that are driven by the feds will end up in our lap for controlling it. And I can just guarantee you that within the next 10 years' time, we're going to be there. This opportunity that's in front of us right now is a way to start moving into the future. As our comprehensive master plan is identifying a number of things as the community develops, such as ours, the issues start to get a little more encompassing, a little more intricate and involved. And stormwater is one of those areas identified in our master plan as being, a responsibility of the town, and the need for it to the town to initiate, a move from a qualitative view of stormwater management. This is a great opportunity. It's a serendipitous one in a sense that I've been talking to myself for a number of years. Gee, it would be nice to grab a little bit of Senator Leahy's money that he's been so kind to grab for the state of Vermont. Well, because the Lake Champlain Basin program is certainly one of his pet peeves. Apparently they've done a good...
Pet peeves or projects?
Pet peeves. Pork barrel, did I say?
No, you didn't.
Opportunities, I guess. But now that opportunity is sliding over here on our side of the lake, because there's been a lot of this same kind of effort done in the other side of the
I
lake.
believe there are two different regions, though, from
The EPA standpoint.
EPA standard. It's like
There
we
is-
don't share the same impacts on the same lake.
Yeah, that presents some challenges in terms of administration. But the serendipitous part of it is that we were contacted by this consulting firm that has a specialty in stormwater management in terms of environmental quality. One, they stand to benefit from it, because the way that this grant is written is, it's not like that we ourselves are writing this application, or we've gone to somebody to contract like we've done in the past with LaBerge. They came to us and said, we think, based on some research on their side, that our community stands a good chance of perhaps being granted, being awarded this grant. So they came to us, they spoke with us, and we saw that we're going to be going in this direction no matter what. Whether it's now or 5 years from now, somewhere in this time frame, we will need to go in that direction. If we were to acquire this, if Stone Environmental was awarded this grant, we would benefit with not the entire town, because it's going to be too costly to do the entire town, but we would be looking at the town, a specific geographic portion of the town, in addressing its infrastructure. They would be conducting field inventory and mapping, and then they would also, there's 4 components to this. It's, the grant wants this project to be done in a way that could be replicated in other communities. So they're going to be looking at it from that standpoint. And it'll assess some of our vulnerabilities in terms of where we might perhaps have heavier opportunity for contaminant loading into the catchment system, the stormwater system that surface water runs into Lake Champlain. They'd be looking at those locations where if you catch it before it gets into that catchment system, then you would be making an improvement to the overall environment.
Phil, can I just interrupt for just a second?
I was on such a roll.
I know you were, and you were doing a great job. The grant, correct me if I'm wrong, the grant is to allow them to study the infrastructure, correct?
That's one of the components.
Make
It's only one of
suggestions
the
on it.
components.
Is there also going to be a component that there'll be grant money, whether it be Senator Leahy money or,
We
Will
should
there-
strike
will
that
there-
from the record.
will-
Please, can you
will
go
there-
back and
will there be
take
a-
that off?
will there be a component that will help to remediate the problems later on?
There's a demonstration project, which is right where I was getting.
Okay,
There's a
get there quicker, please.
Yes, there's a demonstration component to this. Actually, it involves two communities. At least that's what they were proposing. But I see the opportunity for here, at our facility, to do a demonstration, a green initiative for stormwater management, right here. At least that's what I would propose. Because when we've done construction work around here, where we've increased the roof of the building here and the parking lots and whatnot, as well as the fact that our water supply comes from a short little distance from here, there's an opportunity for a pilot project that we would then be, and a requirement of the grant is you've got to then use that as a demonstration by means of teaching others. And it would be great for our planning board process of getting projects coming to us with certain kinds of solutions. Yes.
So it would be more towards projects moving forward, with the exception of the model that we set up here. It'd be a model for moving forward for other plannings. It would actually be a remediation for, say, a Clinton County International Airport, or the Plattsburgh International Airport, any remediation of runoff from there that might have an impact on the lake.
Well, that's a large one. That's 1,000 acres.
That's our
1,000
largest.
acres.
That's our largest and probably our most critical.
And that property is, we have a speedies permit here at the town. The airport has a speedies permit and is regulated by permit for its surface water discharges. I think that's a little large
Okay.
scope, too large a scope for this kind of a project. This would be for some of our, I think the outcome of this, which I really don't know until we get into this, if we were to receive the grant award, that we'd be looking at the magnitude. So let's take from like maybe one of the large shopping center projects down to, let's just use us, or the Trombley project down here at the bottom of the hill. That's the kind of the span of the projects that we'd be focusing on. But there would be a mapping component to this project that would be looking specifically at what infrastructure exists, either stormwater basins that are common in our development projects, to our roadway system with culvert pipes and box culverts and whatnot. I don't think that we'd be going out into the more undeveloped portions.
One of the things we've seen over years is certain funding coming along, and it's usually, you get the announcement 30 days later, you're supposed to have a deliverable. It's not the shovel ready, but it's
That's the kind of mapping, yeah.
engineered projects, and there are a lot of things where we just don't have the data. We can't afford to go gather it. And one of the end products of this that I see is, and there's not a lot of money on the table to deal with the issue, but we would have data gathered, we'd have need identified, we'd have mapping done, and we would have some data on the shelf that, beyond some of the immediate short-term benefits, it would put us in a better position if further funding were available to actually get at and mitigate some of the bigger problems.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we got nothing. We have documentation in our master plan that we ought to do something.
Right.
We have nothing.
No, I think the study's a great idea. I just wanted to find out how much in
Yeah,
depth.
how far?
What are we looking at as far as where do we go once the study is done? We know a lot of our infrastructure is failing. I thought it had to do with infrastructure. From what I'm gathering from your presentation, it doesn't have to do with remediating infrastructure. It has to do
Okay, I
with,
didn't
it has to do
understand
with
that. Not
creating.
remediating infrastructure
right.
from, a rusted culvert pipe that's ready to collapse.
Right.
It might though.
It will map what we've got, but it'll
Well,
also help us with initiatives to move forward with a green type of remediation project.
Well, and certain
That's a
improvements
little
to
bit of
the
what you're talking about right there.
existing might be driven by this data where we identify we need to reroute some of the drainage or,
Sure.
do some upgrades.
That is part of
It's a
that
database.
replicable modeling component there. We're using a GIS-enabled camera
Mhm.
that you would then use that in a program that would then help you in assessing your infrastructure inventory.
Okay.
I think that some of this is a little bit ahead of where our highway department is at. And by the way, I think that this is going to give the town an opportunity to start to reflect a little more on where it's going to be headed in the future with this whole component of stormwater management. You have a stormwater district out at Park. We don't have our arms around it. We don't really have an understanding here at the town of who manages our stormwater requirements, because it's got various components to it. The highway guys are the O&M kinds of guys. We're moving rapidly, given where we are today, into the realm of the qualitative side of it.
Okay.
Phil, do you know, is this 200,000 funds that would be spent on Town of Plattsburgh project or a shared amount for the region?
It's not a regional component. And by the way, I should mention that we are aware that the city of Plattsburgh is making a grant application at the same time to this, which I found to be quite interesting. This consultant felt, and they're making that application on their own in conjunction with the Lake Champlain Regional Planning Agency, whatever they are, the Lake George, Lake Champlain Regional Planning people. So it's the regional aspect of it. The city wasn't intending to do this from a regional standpoint, but there's some component in here that's looking for joint venturing with municipalities. We're considering trying to design this in a manner that would pull in somebody like the town of Peru, the town of Champlain, some, smaller urbanized, small hamlet urbanization kind of thing that has impact into the basin, in setting this program up so that they could then easily replicate it. So I'm not sure how much of the money would be going toward doing that part versus us.
Phil, do you have a good sense of what this report would look like?
No, we've got some of these products that have been used in developing, master planning. I don't have a.
Okay. Maybe Bernie asked it before. I mean, is it specific to the town of Plattsburgh?
Well, it's specific in terms of doing the analysis, but it is intended to structure a project such that another community could then pick up and complete that same kind of process if they could apply the resources toward it. That's huge. I mean, but I can't think of any small township around here, small undeveloped township, that would have the resources.
Is it always federal money that does these things? I mean, has this project ever been done anywhere?
Yeah, I'm too new at looking at this thing to find where the other.
I think they have in
they-
many areas in
similar-
Vermont.
Similar
Yeah.
kinds of things in Vermont, yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And it's-
But it being a pilot project is really important, and that's what we really need to, this is one of the goals that we've had for a long time. You get to be a pilot project. Then when funds come in for something, you've been the pilot project. You're the one that's been out there doing it, when they were just figuring out how to do it. Now you're gonna get the money. To me, this is a fantastic opportunity.
I think so too,
Yeah, it's,
I don't see how we can lose.
don't please, just don't get your hopes too up. Let's just kind of leave it,
yeah.
on
Phil,
the
we
table.
want you to deliver this.
What's that?
We want you to deliver this.
I happen to have some words with Kevin Farrington about this, and it was
Camera's
interesting.
running.
Thanks for reminding me. I just said it was an interesting conversation with
It
Kevin
is.
Farrington.
I think everybody's, excited to see some of these funds be used for this purpose on this side of the pond, and.
We're a good candidate.
It'll be
Let's
used.
just leave it that this town is a good candidate.
That was one of my questions to Julia, because I said the timeliness is not good for us. I need to know and give me some rationale why you are coming to us and that you think we have a winning project. And number two, I gotta be sensitive to any matching funds, projects that we would have to fund, and staff time to follow through on this. None of those are very plush with us.
But there's,
She had good answers.
as far as a mandated requirement that we do something at the end of this grant, there's not a mandated requirement, is there?
Actually, the key components that are written into the grant will be part of the work project. So the demonstration component will be written into that as a price of that project. Now,
That'll be a project, though, that will solve a concern or a problem that we have. It'll give us the resources and the tools, so that's not a problem.
yeah,
That's a good thing.
the worst case scenario might be that we would provide through our highway department some in-kind services to get that project completed.
Yep.
We just, you know, today is Monday, this thing is due 4:30 Friday afternoon. I haven't seen the application yet. It's coming around very quickly on us.
I would guess she's in process of writing with some assumption it will fly, because
Yeah.
she can't wait, they're just the way it is.
And when I you know, remark about, you know, that there's competition to this, she still felt confident that this community still has a need that can be matched to the grant application process or requirements.
Reputable firm, you can check them out online, I mean, it's, they have a good track record.
Yeah.
Anyone have any other questions of Phil? Same thing, I'm gonna move us along. If not, thank you much, Phil, appreciate it. Okay.
Can the public ask a question?
You can catch him on his way.
If you're running fast or?
Nah, I think you can run pretty fast, John, as
I
well.
had a question.
The next item that I have is public hearing guidelines. What I'd like to do is drop back the, you know, unless we have someone like Mr. Condon who drove from Glens Falls, I'm not going to have those people sit and wait, or anybody that we got, you know, on the meter. But we want to do it the same as we did during the other sessions, to have individuals addressing the board first, and just to keep consistency of where we've been. I'll use the same process if you'd like to. If you just state your name, your address, and try and limit your comments to 5 minutes, we'd appreciate it. Is there anyone that would like to address the board this evening?
John St. Germain, Kittyville, New York. I kind of feel like, I don't know, third-class citizen, I guess. I thought when you were gonna have people addressing the board during the work session, it would be at the beginning of the meeting. We wouldn't have to sit through 45 minutes of presentations from salesmen and what have you. I think, you know, I think we're the most important people in the town, the taxpayers. And I think we should come first. And it's obvious to me that you're kind of putting us in the back seat. We're kind of, I guess if we would have came before you and sung the praises of all the great work you're doing and what have you, then probably we wouldn't be regulated to the back room, so to speak, and the back end of all of the presentations and what have you. And I think it's unfortunate that you're doing this, and I would like to know just when is the time to address the board?
I just shared that, John, before we got up, that we normally were going to do it at the beginning, but if I have someone who's leading this meeting driving to Glens Falls, I'm going to respect them. There are also not only public boards that have structured their public comments at the end. I've heard from some people recently who've suggested that might not be a bad time, because then they will have the activities from the meeting to make comments on if they could get a chance to speak after. So it's kind of a tomato. You know, in some cases it'll work for some people, but that's the way it is.
Well, and that, to me, that's the best case scenario, would have been to allow, because you were worried about us taking up the TV time or whatever, and the board not giving their work.
But you just said you would
on
felt
the
like a
board.
second-class citizen because you didn't get to go first tonight. Now you're telling me it would have been better to go last on the other weeks?
Well, it would be better to be, at least be able to know where you stand on the agenda. And if we were last on the meetings, the regular meetings, I agree. I think that would be the best time.
How'd you feel, John, when we had children here for awards, if we held public comment until that was over? Was that second-class citizenry also?
No, I don't think so, but I can tell you right now, as far as awards go, and that awards program and what have you, you may think it's a wonderful program, but I coach Little League, and I never felt that giving kids awards for one being better than the other and all this kind of stuff, that's not the object of these kind of programs, is to have participation. And you wouldn't be surprised at how much stigma is given to the child that isn't picked and what have you. And I know when I coached, they wanted me to pick all-stars. I would never pick all-stars because every one of my kids was an all-star. That's the way I felt. But as far as the addressing of the board, I think should be, as far as I'm concerned, at the regular meeting, at the end of the meeting, prior to going into executive session. Certainly don't make us wait through that. And then I agree that your agenda that night, we could make comments on whatever was done that evening, because, I mean, over the years, it's been obvious that whatever comments we did make prior to or in a public hearing, you just went ahead and voted the way you wanted to anyway, so I don't think it has much impact. The other thing I would like to take issue with, Bernie, is on the LDC. You said last Monday night that that it didn't come into fruition until 2008. I don't know where you were from 2005 to 2008. I know Tom Wood and I started out.
How many LDC meetings did you have during that period, John?
Well,
No, how many did you have?
we had a considerable amount.
How many LDC meetings?
There was no LDC.
Okay,
As far
that's what I
up-
said.
Up until, the LDC came about in 2006.
We had 3 people sign a document, but the whole structuring of an LDC hadn't even been finalized, the regulations and the, you know, the authorities that are required. 3 people signed, it was a great project. I totally think that was the direction to go, get these things as revolving
But-
loans. But that group never met.
That's not true. So we met with Sally Sears Mack in the boardroom. She was chairman. You were there. You weren't on the board.
You said
I was.
2005,
2005, Tom and I were,
Sally Sears wasn't here in
With-
2005.
Okay, you moved it.
right. But Tom and I and CJ Madonna worked on setting up the agenda to meet the criteria
Yeah.
for the state and what have you. And we put a lot of hours in, both at CJ's office and here in the boardroom.
Got it started.
And we didn't get any extra compensation like Mr. Mannix gets when he does a little bit of extra
Okay,
work.
okay, get to your point.
But let me tell you this, the thing existed because you sat in there and I said, I can recall, and I was on the board and you weren't, and you came into the boardroom and stated that you wanted the, I said I wanted it, I thought it should be run by the county. They had the contacts, Dory Kurtz and Industrial Development Association had all the contacts, Gary Douglas. They should have went through them. And your words were, well, we want to control it. We want the credit to go to our town and what have you. And so the program really, even to this day, is not a very functioning program. It was $750,000 came in, and $600,000 went out. I don't know if Gerard was on the board at that time, and very little of that money has came back. And and you also stated that very little was done in that period of time up until 2008. And I know we talked about trying to get some of the money back out of NATEC. And I can remember Jim saying that they had no assets, they rented, they were behind in their rent, and what have you. So there was always an ongoing thing with the LDC, with the people trying to get something done, and it was always an active thing. And as far as I'm concerned, for you to sit there and you do this all the time, is make it look like the prior administration did nothing, and all we did was kick the can down the road. Well, that's a bunch of bull.
Anything else? No. Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Kenny, you can speak. Hi, my name is John Andrus, 303 Cumberland Head Road, Plattsburgh, New York. What are the guidelines of this work session? I mean, is there a repartee between the board members? Can we speak to you, or are we just speaking above you, or
The
is there an
period,
exchange? Can we have a discussion?
the period, John, is to address the board and share. I think because it's a less formal, it'll probably be easier to give some responses, but it is not a period to, you know, get involved in a debate. There's a lot of opportunity for that at other times. We have, you know, an agenda, and it's a short period of time. This is a period for those who would like to address the full board to do so by making a statement, sharing a concern. And we'll be working a little later this evening on trying to set up some structure and guidelines, and we'll keep that in mind.
When is the opportunity for debate of issues arise?
A debate is not the same as making a presentation. If you
Well,
want
I
to discuss
realize, I know what a
something,
debate is. I'm asking you, is
Okay.
there an opportunity in your work sessions, your public session, to have a debate about specific issues?
that's not what this is for.
It's not even, that's not even how local government works.
It is?
John. No,
Oh,
we
Well,
can, we,
clarify
as
for me,
elected and
please.
as elected representatives, we may have a debate about issues, but we don't have a workshop session or a public meeting where we enter into debate with the citizenry about what's before us. I mean,
Have you considered
if you want a public if you want
I had
you
a
know,
gentleman come in today
town
and
meetings, they
debate
do
with
it in
me.
Vermont once a year.
I get people in my office all the time that come in
That's
and
it.
want to talk and debate. That's the forum for that. They'll come in and they have real questions, they'll share, you know, their views, their opinions.
So you're saying the forum is to come in and talk to you personally, and that's the forum for debate?
You asked me, what is the structure of the public comment time? I said
Yes, I
it's a
did.
time for the public to make a comment to the
Okay.
board at large,
Fine.
share a view, an opinion, a concern. Then you asked about, well, when is the time we can debate? When you want to get in, I get in debates and price choppers sometimes,
Lots
you know?
I'm sure between
that's
the
what happens.
between the spaghetti aisle and
Absolutely.
And the fresh
I've had a
fish,
couple
yeah.
of them
I
at calling hours for deceased friends and relatives even. That's how indiscreet it can become.
well, politics is, you
Yeah, I
know,
know.
real life, it's
I
all
would
over.
just say that.
That makes it okay.
When you're making comments and stuff, on a particular issue, something it's good to get different ideas, and we're happy to hear those.
Okay.
You know, and personally, as far as the format, I thought that this particular format would be better because you would be giving us ideas and talking to us prior to our having to vote, rather than just before we're voting on issues. You know what we voted on the previous week, you can bring those up, or if you have the agenda and you know what or you have idea what we're going to be doing, or something that's coming there, you could speak to that. I tend to disagree somewhat with the timing. I think it would be better at the end, because then you could put your views in, but I'm fine with the beginning as long as, you know, as long as we're doing that. As far as a debate, I think I don't want to there's not any debate. I mean, you know, you just, this exchange of ideas, let's put it that way, okay?
Very good.
Anytime you want to come in my office, I'll be more than glad to
I'm sure.
spend some time. Even that, though, John, has to be scheduled. I'm avoiding the word
I
control,
realize you're
because I
you're
can't
busy,
spend
you have
all
a
day
lot of
debating with
demands.
someone.
No, I'm not a day-long debater, believe me. I have no intent to tie you up for 8 hours or whatever your day consumes. But I did come tonight to express our concern. I'm speaking to you as a member of the Cumberland Head Taxpayer Association, as the president, as a resident in the town of Plattsburgh for 30 years or more, and have been paying taxes. And have worked in the local government, I've worked in the municipal government, and have a fairly good working knowledge of how government should be, and I'm really disappointed and disillusioned by your actions to put this forum into the work sessions and take it out of the public session. It seems like you have put the town residents, as I've stated a couple times, in the back of the bus. We don't have access to the public record that I'm aware of. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a public record in these sessions? Was there a public record in the public section? I mean, that's, you know, is that only take place when someone submits something to you and asks to have it documented as a public record? I think you've made a mockery of liberty and justice by doing what you're doing here. You're closing people out. You've hijacked the democratic process to a degree, and I'm very disappointed by that. I think a lot of people will realize that it seems, at least the presentation you're giving, or the perception, the image, is that you're trying to hide something. We came here as a group 10 months ago, back in, before that, and we're concerned about the tax assessments. That's what got me motivated in this, and then I saw the other issues that we started to reveal and dig into the books, audit reports, et cetera, and we never got any answers. I think if you had tried or made an effort to give us some answers and some guidance, perhaps some of the embarrassment could have been avoided. I just think this is a bad move. I know a lot of people really don't believe it and support this move to a work session. I don't understand what the limitations are with charter cable. I mean, have they expressed to you, Mr. Bassett, that you only have 1 hour on charter cable? I know organizations that have run for 2-3 hours or longer. It just seems that the 1 hour limitation that was expressed in the press and the public is not true. That you can run a video for as long as you want, practically, as long as you have the data in your little card. Basically, the bottom line is I think you made a political mistake by doing this. I think it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a public image and support. Mr. Mannix thinks I'm going way out on a limb here. It's open government, transparent government doesn't take place in the back room. It takes place on record, it takes place in cameras, it takes place in front of the press, and that's what I'd like to see. I mean, I've been involved in a number of organizations in this community, including the United Way, which I had the privilege of serving with Mr. Mannix's brother, who I had a lot of respect for. And those meetings were always open. Granted, it wasn't a municipal organization. It was a nonprofit 501c3, I believe. Red Cross, all the other organizations that we have in the community are open. If you ask questions, you'll get the answers. There is no sense of covert or clandestine operation. It's open. And that's what we ask, is an open and transparent government. Thank you.
And I just want to make a comment for the record. There's an implication that, not an implication, the comment was made that we'd be something less than open by having public comment on these days versus the other days. When in fact, my concern, I don't know if any others of you who've done some campaign experience, I know I did, going door to door, it really amazed me how many people actually tuned in to the sessions. I think for that large number of people, we owe it to them that they're able to see us in action, which is more transparent and more open to the public to be able to see how we're behaving and the decisions we're making. If the purpose of public comment is to share with the board, ask questions, or debate, or whatever, and we change the day of it, we haven't changed anything. Other than being assured that the public gets to see the meetings. The other thing I just want to react to, and you can have a seat, John. I'm just
thank you.
mopping up. It's an old school thing in me, I guess. There's been some comment about the hour. I guess, again, just for the record, Charter never told me that we have only an hour. I think somewhere along the line I got that message from somebody. I'm sure whatever we give them, if it's a 20-minute tape or a 2-hour tape, they aren't letting the programming just kind of come up next when we're done. I'm sure things are scheduled. And my concern is, and I don't get to see them a lot simply because I'm usually doing them, but I've seen a couple recently where the meeting was cut short. And that was the end of it. It went back to their schedule of whatever's the various times for the various programs. And I'm not sure why, but I'm pretty confident based on what I've observed, we don't have an indefinite period of time to just let tapes roll. We're going to talk about it actually next, so I think I'm going to just segue right into number 3.
Well, wait, you might have other comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else who wants to address the board? Okay. I'm going to segue right into number 3. I've been gathering some data, been doing a little research, others of you have, about guidelines, because I think we need some structure so it isn't arbitrary and kind of made up as you go along.
John wants to listen to what you're saying, sure.
Yeah, and Gerard shared a draft that I just kind of deep-sixed all the notes that I'd been collecting for a while. And one of the other things you should know is I spoke with Lori Mifflin, Association of Towns, and there's absolutely no law, no statute, no requirement that you have to have a public comment period. She indicated to me, as some people shared tonight that didn't seem to have any more interest in our dealings tonight, that some boards have one, some don't, some have it at the beginning, some at the end, some have a little time in, a little at the end. She said, but one thing that seemed to be fairly universal is that there's a structure, and that these periods don't just go on until, you know, people run out of air or whatever. The other thing she shared is as you get into you know, the southern western part of the state where fracking is a big issue, said you should see the public comments there. It's really become a forum for people that are very adamant about expressing their view on a topic versus engaging with the board even. So it's kind of all over the place. I think Gerard did a good job of this, and what I've given you is a copy where I highlighted a couple of suggestions. Marty had a couple of thoughts, a couple were just typos to deal with. I noticed in the model that you found, Gerard, they indicated people had up to 3 minutes to make their statement. I didn't think we should reduce, we've tried to stay with 5, and I mentioned to Heather Van Arsdale today, I said if there's a problem with that, the problem's with the supervisor. I haven't, you know, you want to let people talk when they start. That's what they come for. But it's difficult. I need to do better with that. But I think 3 minutes, I don't know where that is, but boy, that's not much time for folks. And you tend to be a little flexible, I think, also. So we made that change. We also noted on number 7, I'm saying we, I kind of grabbed some of Marty's notes, that we would want to see a limit in the total amount. If we have, you know, we're changing the price of a dog license, we have 50 dog lovers in here. If you give everybody 5 minutes, we're not going to get any work done. So maybe the topic is limited to 10 minutes. And it could be 15, it could be 5. You know, we just need to make some decisions.
You're talking about the topic or the group?
The topic, because it could be 50 people here and 20 of them want to talk about the dog license, so we're going to listen for 10 minutes to whoever you want. But there may be another group that wants to talk about, you know, water prices or something.
Well, then it's just a matter of who signed up first.
And that's the other thing that's in here, that there would be a sign-in, and the first person who signed would go first, and when your 30 minutes for public comment during the meeting is done, you got to get the work done. There seems to be, and we heard it this evening, I don't think I'm contriving it or being sensitive. I've done public things for a lot of years. there seems to be the sense that, well, you're elected, so we should be able to, say whatever we want for however long we want, and whatever format we want. That's just inappropriate, and it achieves nothing.
I assume you mean personal attacks.
Well, you're right, Tom, but it's the sense that we've got work we've got to do. And, I think as a group, we've been so available. I mean, all of your phone numbers are published. We're not living in the middle of the, New York City here. It's pretty easy to go to the phone book, look under Lemoyne, and find Paul for calls. And, honestly, I've had people come in more than once, groups come in. I had some ladies about bingo at Post 20 the other day. And let me tell you, they let me know what I needed to hear. And that's okay. But the issue is, we've got some decisions that have to be made, and the time has to be spent doing that. And I'm not trying to imply that, anyone can say whatever they want. You can, come into my office and be rude to an extent, I guess, too. But that's not even the point. The point is, we're here for a purpose, to conduct business. If you tried this in other legislative bodies, it would be reacted to in a radically different way. So I mean, I really think we want to make sure we give opportunity. We don't want to be too restrictive, but we got to keep focus on what the job is too. And there are many, many times to approach any of us as a group or whatever.
One thing, Bernie, that this does not address is when that will be done. I don't know if we're going to address it in this policy. John St. Germain made a very legitimate claim about whether or not we should have this at the end of the meeting, and that and Tom also said it would be a good opportunity for people who have listened to us debate, discuss, and interact with our decision-making process if they were given time at the end of the meeting. I think it's a good idea, provided we don't offend anybody by moving the public comment to the end of the meeting.
Well,
It gives an actual.
Could be at midnight.
Oh, we had
No,
one.
no, I don't think
If
you
I had
ever
one
see this
person
going
today that
on.
was offended if it's at the beginning, and they're offended if it's at the end. So, what do you do?
But I think it's an opportunity. This is, and again, I agree with your comments about anybody who wants to address the board. We're giving them the opportunity to address the board. If the only thing that's missing from doing it at the town board meeting and doing it at a work session is our recording of the minutes, our actual videotaping of the minutes. If that's a big deal to anybody, if they're offended that they're not on our record of the recordings, then they did not truly want to address the board. That's my opinion. If you want to address the board at this forum here. It will be before. Most of the time, we have some resolutions on the agenda for tonight, but most of the time, it's before we've made our decision.
But my concern with that is two things. One, if someone's come to a board meeting, the reason they came is already in place before they get here. They're not coming to watch us do things and then at the end see if there's something they want to argue about. And we've had meetings that last quite long. And for some people to sit in those chairs for 2 hours and wait for us to get done, and then these 5 people have been here 2 hours too. And now it's like, we're going to be on our cordial best to want to listen to the public for a half hour.
Well, I'm not saying that. It all depends on the purpose why the person's coming. If they want to make a statement, well, then they'd rather do it at the beginning of the meeting.
Maybe.
If they really wanted to influence the policy or provide suggestions to the policy or to the decisions that we make, in my mind, they probably want to do it at the end when they've heard what we're talking about, so they know which issues they want to bring up and where they would like to influence them. Now, I'm not advocating that we go to the end of the meeting, because I know that most of the people.
I was afraid you were going to advocate at both. The beginning and the end of the meeting, and we won't go
15
down.
minutes at the
Some of
beginning,
my
15
friends are
minutes at
for
the end.
speaking before the
Bernie?
meeting, and some of my friends are
Could I
for
ask
speaking.
just a little
Well,
thing for
Sure.
clarity?
I have no problem with it. You've been here for a long time, for a lot of years, and there have been times when you've picked up on little details that in the flow I missed.
It's easy.
And I know more than once I've looked at you and said, ooh, she's right.
Never mind.
That's different, and you've and you've presented something to the board, you got up, you did it, and it was done.
And I try to be respectful.
That's right.
I try. It
No,
might
you
not
have-
always come out that way,
No,
but I try to.
you have been, but some of these comments in the last month were not respectful.
I realize
They
that.
went over the line, they're unprofessional, and they're not gonna be tolerated.
But that's not what I wanted to ask about.
Anyway.
Could you clarify a little bit between the public comment session and a public hearing? Because they're different.
They're radically different. Public hearing is more set by law.
Absolutely.
Really, this public comment is just a chance for the community to be able to approach and meet and look in the eye and say something to their elected officials about their community. That public hearing has a very narrow focus of the topic that has been, by law, brought to that forum. And that's the only topic.
So would, in that forum, let's say the setting of the public hearing, would say there were 500 people here, how many could address the board?
You can just use a reasonable criteria.
There's a process for that. We have got
I mean,
some.
I'm exaggerating, obviously.
You had somebody.
Oh, we had one in Cumberland Head. There were over
Yeah.
200 people.
At a public hearing, anybody who wants to address can address.
Can be a long one.
No, but there are limits. I mean, if you have 500 people and everybody wants 10 minutes, you can't do that.
Right, but Jim, I think
No,
at
you
that
limit-
point, you would set the criteria to, if anybody has anything different to comment on. If you're gonna have 100 people all saying exactly the same thing, or Debbie Blake gets up and makes a comment, and then I get up and I echo her comments, and then the third person
Well,
gets up and
that's
starts
silly.
to echo them again,
That's
I think the chair of the public hearing
Right,
should at
that's
that
right.
point say, you know, if there's anybody who has anything else to address, we'd be glad to
That's
listen.
But on the other
there's a
hand-
reasonable standard.
Right.
But on the other hand, I believe 2 of the forums that were before the board quite recently, within the last few months, were public hearings.
I
The
think
one
they
on the
were at-
budget was a public hearing, and the one on the zoning board was a
Okay,
public
But,
hearing.
Then
but that's
in that
different than our
case-
public comment session.
In that case,
Right.
Debbie,
That's a
the
public
Public hearing would
No,
have been
no,
open
those
and
were
closed.
pub- those
It's
were
open,
public
it's
hearings.
closed, has a
Right.
time, has a motion to open it, to close it.
Absolutely.
In that
And
case,
they were
Debbie,
very-
we'd have been able to say that their comments were not in line with what was the idea of the public hearing, I believe.
They were
Some-
all in line with
Some
it.
of the comments got to be political in nature.
But those were not at the public hearing.
Not the public hearings, no, you're right. Public hearings have been fine.
The
Okay.
public hearing
I
on the
was-
budget, you
I'm
weren't here for
thinking
the
back.
public
You're
hearing
right.
on the
You're
budget?
right, I
I don't
wasn't
know if
here.
you were here for the public hearing on the zoning, but you weren't here for most of the
I
budget
But
ducked-
stuff.
I ducked them
The
both.
biggest one that I recall, we had a couple on dog issues and hunting on Cumberland Head, but the biggest
Those
was
are
the one on
public
Cumberland Head at the school concerning
was the
the
Sewer.
public wastewater
And that was
treatment.
huge.
That was big, and you know, I think everybody who wanted to speak had a chance.
I think so.
Couple people spoke a couple times, that was okay.
So there's not a limit. If 40 people wanted to get up and each speak for 5 minutes, I mean, it might go on a long
In
time.
a public
but-
hearing,
Yes.
that's an environment. In
In a comment, I realize that's something else.
Session, we have a right to say, you know,
Well, you don't even have to
within
do-
reason. You know, and reason will be established to be,
Indeed.
by and large,
No, I
30 minutes.
understand.
Public hearings, you get a couple during the year, but this is the kind of thing where if you didn't get to say everything you want, you know what? 2 weeks you can come do it again.
Yeah, no, I realize that.
And,
No,
and,
no, no,
and
I understand.
tonight, John's comment caught me totally off guard in the sense that I've been involved in public, you know, in town government for 23, 24 years. I've never had anybody come and say, well, when do we get to debate? It doesn't exist in
It's
the
not like
format.
that. I never said that.
No, no,
I'm not
Jack
talking about you, I'm
Andrews.
talking about John
Jack,
Andrews.
Jack Andrews.
I'm
Jack.
sorry.
Jack.
I should have
Jack.
been clear. Okay, but I never had anybody make that kind of comment, you know, I mean, there's a part of me that wanted to say, you know, go on down to Albany to the assembly and try that, see what happens. I
Well-
mean, you know, there's a guy with a badge and a hat's gonna come walk you out. It's bizarre, you know, and then what compounds the thing, and this is the problem, okay? And I understand what you're saying, and there's part of me that really liked your suggestion, that we do it at the end. But part of what, you know, what I'm offended by is
Don't be offended,
we
no.
stand here, we have to listen to this, and then as soon as he's done talking, he packs up his little papers and out the door he goes. Like, I've done my pontificating, and now it's time for me to leave. And, you know, because there is, you know, he certainly does not want to hear what this board has to say. You know, and then, you know, we'll get somebody, today I had somebody who's complaining that, you know, because we didn't do what they asked, we didn't listen. Well, just because we didn't do what you asked doesn't mean we didn't listen. It may be that what you asked for was not what we felt was the right course of action. But public comment periods are exactly that. They are a time for people to address the town board. And in reality, one of the comments Bernie made, this environment may provide us with an opportunity to have some give and take. Normally in public comment periods, there is no give and take. You listen. The board listens. People have their opportunity to address the board, to cite whatever it is they want to say. The board listens. They take that under consideration.
And if I could just take it a step further, give and take, the give and take that we're having right now is not a debate. Once it becomes a debate, that's when I would say, I'm sorry, I'm done. Because I'm not going to sit here and let the give and take process turn into a debate.
Well, it shouldn't be a battle.
You're right. And Debbie, I don't have to quote open meeting law to you. I know you've read it.
I know it,
Personally,
you know,
she wrote it. I know
in
there's
fact, a lot of people have called me and said, is it true
I
that
know
they don't
there's-
have to allow comments? I said, yeah,
Yeah.
call Bob Freeman, he'll tell you.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say. Open meeting law says that there's an opportunity for the public to come and watch the political process.
Exactly.
It does not
Observe,
afford,
it says observe.
it does not afford them an opportunity to speak.
We have a
But if we took
representative.
away the opportunity for public comment, we'd be crucified.
I
So,
wouldn't want to do that.
so we're just trying to make it
Better
more,
folks than you have been crucified.
more,
Hey,
but only, but only once.
But only once.
But only once.
on the draft that Marty
I
did,
wouldn't put myself in that.
on the draft that Marty did, I'd also like to propose that we take 9 out. I really don't like the idea of telling people that they can't talk about whatever it is. I mean, as long as it's respectful and not threatening.
I think we need to leave some, if not all of that in there, because again, the last contentious address that we had, it was almost as if somebody
Yeah.
was running for political office.
Well,
And if we cannot have people coming here, whether they're recording it themselves or it was being recorded by the town, and speak to the camera as if they're doing a segue on their political campaign, creating a political advertisement, as it were.
But that's not gonna happen anymore because the
Bernie, it
public
is going
camera's
to
not
happen
here. I don't
because,
care.
because the public can bring their own cameras in and they can
Yeah.
do their own recording. What I'm saying is they should not use our personages as part of their political campaign. And it would be very easy for somebody to bring a recording crew in and record somebody, a potential candidate, addressing this board in a contentious fashion.
I agree with Jerry 100%. You may want to make exceptions, but I think people should know ahead of time that you shouldn't, anything like involving attorney-client privilege, pending litigation, this isn't something you go over and just kind of throw out whatever you want, and there's some rules.
All right, let's
Yeah,
take,
I definitely think we should
all
keep it in.
right, let me pedal backwards a little bit then. Item A, public hearing items. If there is a public hearing coming up on whether or not there should be public sewer in Cumberland Head, I don't know why someone couldn't in a work session make a
Because then
comment about that.
their comments are not part of the public hearing. The whole idea of the public hearing is to
They
let
can
the
repeat
public,
it.
let the public make.
If
If I'm
we're-
making a comment on it, I'm gonna probably assume that my comments made here on a public hearing issue got entered into the records for the public hearing, and they would not be
No,
entered
no,
in.
it's not a public hearing, it's a
Amen.
comment
Yes,
session.
I
but I
just-
think with Jerry also, when you set aside a public hearing, you're not setting aside that there's going to be, you know, a work session on the second Monday and a work session on the fourth Monday, and then you may literally have a public hearing the following Monday.
Sure.
Well, you really don't want three, you know, you don't want three public hearings, one formal public hearing and two ad hoc public hearings. You basically say, that's an issue that, you know, we're having a public hearing on such and
I
such a
agree.
night.
I agree.
You come on that
Direct your
night,
comments at the
and
public
direct-
hearing, please.
yeah, and direct your comments.
I mean,
If
it
you
doesn't
can't
mean,
be
it doesn't
here,
mean
you
that
can
we
submit them.
refuse to allow somebody to speak because they're starting to talk about public hearing items. We just remind them that the official public hearing's on such and such a date. Would you please save your comments till then? If you have anything else, we'd be glad to address them or to entertain them.
I feel the same on litigation. You can have people who, they find out there's a matter of litigation, they have an opinion on that. We can't, you know, we have to be careful of what we allow to be said.
Mhm.
You know, somebody can say that, you know, we're up, we're proposing that somebody come to the meeting and, put the oar in the water.
I think I'm in the minority. Is everybody agreeing with ABC?
I agree with
I'll live them. I'll live them.
Personnel,
Tom,
somebody
you
can
want
walk
him
in
in or
here
what?
and rip somebody.
Yeah,
What's that?
You want the A, B, C, and D in or out?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
Paul,
told you
you're
I
in?
wanted them in, I don't see any reason to have them out.
Okay.
But I do have some other questions.
Lay them out there. Let's get it done.
Number 5, it says, public comment is not intended to require the board to provide an answer to the speaker. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Well, we certainly have been allowing it, so,
No, they're saying
no.
the speaker and the audience, the person standing there
No.
and other people in the audience.
It's,
Deb
They can
can't
talk to
talk
the
to
board.
John.
Right.
I can't stand at the podium and turn around and talk to John and get his
or
comments.
vice versa, you're standing at the
Exactly.
podium trying to make a comment, and somebody's sitting behind you, and they're talking against you.
let the
While
record
you're
show
trying
we're
to
only
talk.
using these 2 people because they're the only 2 people here.
That's right, that's right.
There's a third one.
There, all right, there, okay.
get after Dan.
Press
Press excluded.
He's
I'm
hiding
sorry,
in the
Dan.
dark.
That's not a problem if the individuals in the group have a common focus on an issue. It's a real problem if I've got on this side of the room people that want to ban hunting on Cumberland Head, and over there I got people that want to keep hunting on Cumberland Head, and they start, we got a problem. And that's really how I see number 5, that needs to be controlled.
All right, well then, what
That's
about
who
number,
that falls to, sir.
what about number 10?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there was also in the last one, it said that you could ask people to step down.
Was that the public hearing one? I think it
No,
was.
this is conduct at town board meetings
Okay.
from a gazillion years ago.
Come again.
And
Can
it
I
says-
foil that so I can get a
You want it? Here, I'll be let you have it.
I think I have a copy of it, because I think that's another one that I found in,
It's
Yeah.
a
I
gazillion
think they'll
years
make it
ago.
You lose
quick time.
track
I'll
of
bring it
things,
down.
you know?
when
Yeah.
Marty was on the board.
Marty just wants to find out what year it was that he was
It
on
was
when.
before he was born.
Okay, Tom, you said you had a couple. What else?
So I just want to make sure, on number
Yep.
10, after they make a statement to be seated with no further debate, dialogue, or comment, that doesn't mean you can't interact with them, or I can't interact with them in terms of the idea.
That's about the speaker, correct.
Okay. And then on 11, aren't you saying delete? On
I don't
11?
think we should tell people to hold their applause.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
That's my opinion.
I
So-
agree with you
So
on
we
that
should
one. We
just
can-
put down this.
Just
let
shall
us-
not disrupt the meeting?
If
Leave
they-
it, they shall not
If they
disrupt
wanna,
the
if they
meeting.
wanna clap after every speaker, let them clap.
We'll
Yeah.
give this one to
The
Bernie.
clap.
If they wanna clap after every speaker.
That one
let them
says that you could ask somebody to step down, and I don't know why you didn't do that. Hello?
Well,
Instead of being hysterical.
I wasn't hysterical, didn't say a word, got a little
Later.
long, but wasn't hysterical.
Later.
But
Yeah, later.
the problem is, well, it doesn't matter.
Because that does say that you can
Yeah,
ask
I know
people to
that.
step down.
Well, it also, I think
Haven't
says, I think
physically
it also,
removed.
didn't it have a
And
time limit?
removed.
Didn't it have a time limit also?
5, yeah, but it says people can see time.
We've never really stuck to that,
It
never.
said you can see time.
Where did it say
But
that?
another thing, if I could just, I know I shouldn't be talking, but
Good idea not to have that.
you might want to, if these are concise, post them on the podium.
Yeah, that would be a smart move, but I
Because
have
people
a
don't
feeling,
know.
well, the people who know don't care.
Excuse me?
Some of the people who know don't care.
I would
You didn't say
some.
some, you said the.
Gotta give that one to Debbie.
Yep. You're gonna lose out here, Bernie. you
If
don't
I didn't
keep
care,
this
I
up.
wouldn't have them here, hello.
Debbie,
No,
where did
you
it
know I'm
say
not
exceed your
general.
time? Where's that?
He's got
The
it.
paperwork that
And that
Marty
we-
has on the conduct at meetings, that was not the public hearing comments.
That you shouldn't allow that. That's
So is there a place in here where we say we can ask them to,
This one only has what's on it, which is, I'm calling it the Gerard model, which I think is pretty darn good.
Jim, I think that was because if you had a group that wanted to make a presentation and you didn't want to have 5 or 6 or 8 people, that person could
Yeah, but you
use
don't,
the-
yeah, but 40 minutes is a long
Yeah.
time.
Well,
And
duh,
now if we adopt a new policy, it's going to be no more than 10.
there you go.
It's gonna be
But
no
I
more
think
than
that's why it was, I mean, that's what it seems
But I
like.
mean, it just gets a little too tight. I mean, you know, it's just like,
Just address it.
One of the things we didn't address is if we have the session on these work session nights at the beginning or the end of the meeting. I just need some direction.
I want to ask, you can think about that, but why don't we put that in, a speaker maybe asked to step down?
why don't we put it in?
Yeah.
Put it in if you want, as far as I'm concerned, as supervisor, anytime I say you're done, you're
I
done.
think the supervisor has that right,
I-
whether
that's a
it's
given.
here or not.
Tom, I think we've got that in there when we say that they
That's
can't
been
talk
my
about
couple
public hearing items, candidacy of any person seeking office, matters in current or anticipated litigations, matter which are closed session items, et cetera, et cetera. I think we've got the reasons for telling a person that they have to step down.
Insubordination, all that
You
kind
know,
of stuff.
it says that speakers will be courteous in their language and presentation. We've got a bunch of different reasons here where we could say to somebody, you know, we don't believe that you're acting
Oh,
in
we
a
do have
courteous,
courteous
in
in
a courteous manner, so would you please, you know, remove yourself from the podium? This is a time for public comment, not for you to stand there and berate the board on what you think may or may not have happened.
Okay, so it does say something about being courteous, or at least
Number
not,
6.
at least not,
Number 6,
Not
speakers will be
being able
courteous
to
in their
attack us.
language and presentation.
I mean, they can attack me for my views anytime they
But
want.
they would
Yeah,
make it
we're
easier
elected
for
officials, we don't have any,
Because then that'll be.
Why don't we
any
say-
expectation of not being taken to task for
Well,
what
no,
we've done.
no, of course not.
Why don't we say that speakers will be required to praise the board?
Oh, no.
No, it would be occasionally nice if,
For the purpose of a second draft,
But
in
not the
number
attorney.
6, at the end of the ABCD, I will add in, for the purpose of a second draft, I will add in, if warranted, speakers may be asked to sit down.
Right.
Now,
I would like to say, why don't we just go with this for now? Try this speaking period at the beginning, see how it works out. If people prefer the end, I don't have any problem with moving to the end later. Tonight, we had speakers want to be at the beginning. So let's start it at the beginning, but we can
everybody
revise
in favor
this,
with going with the beginning?
we can
Yes.
revise
Yes.
this later.
I mean, it's what we've done in the past, so let's keep it, I think Tom brings a good point, let's keep it at the beginning, and,
Even though I think it's more valuable somewhere else, that's another.
Some
that's-
nights it is.
Ernie, two things for you. Number 2,
Yep.
individuals, you have to sign up 30 minutes prior. I think we, by law and by resolution, arrive 15 minutes prior to the meeting to discuss there's very rarely that there's a lot of people in this building 30 minutes prior to the start of a
Well,
meeting.
Deborah will usually make sure that, you know, there's a sign-in sheet.
But I'm
set up
saying,
for
I'm saying,
people.
but my point
We
is,
have to
my-
have the sign-up sheet available.
30 minutes, right.
30 minutes
But,
ahead.
but my point is, 30 minutes prior, I've been in this building a lot of times, 30 minutes prior to the meeting, and I'm the only one here. And so the building is still locked.
She doesn't leave them out for work sessions.
No,
If we're
No,
gonna make
that
it,
would have to change.
if we're gonna make it available 30 minutes prior, I think you should make it 15 minutes prior, because then we're all in here and we're all disseminating.
And technically, the building could be locked until 15 minutes before.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. That makes sense, because,
I've tried to get here 30 minutes ahead of time to look, see if there's anything additional in the drawer, and, I mean, I think usually Paul's here before me, so the 30 minutes is not undoable, because we have council people who are here to open the building within that 30-minute time frame. I mean, I'm
What's the
not
downside
opposed,
of 15 minutes?
I don't think that there's any downside.
There's no downside, put it out as soon as we get here.
Right.
As soon as we're able to.
Right, if it's out 30 minutes
20
ahead of time, we've,
As long as it's there, so
All right, let's
and if
make
anybody,
it, let's make it 15.
and
but
if
at 15,
anybody,
we're always here.
if anybody is already here because they came in early,
And,
then we should say, you
and one
can
more
go out and
suggestion,
sign,
and
you can
I'll
sign the
give this
sheet
one
if
to
you want.
Danielle. When we put out the sign-up sheet, we should actually put it into a binder, and at the beginning of that binder, Ricky will obviously remove the page when somebody signs up for that month, but have the first page of that be this set of guidelines for the public comment. So if you want to read over the guidelines for the public comment, that's the first page of that binder where you sign up, attached to the front
that's
cover, however.
And
Good.
we're gonna change it to 15 minutes.
What is
Yep.
this here?
okay,
This is what
To also put
Mrs.
some
Mike
out so
just
people can get
was referring to. She-
Oh, did you give her her copy back?
yeah. Okay, so we agreed on the beginning, we agreed on 15 minutes, we'll have a sheet and have that, have the guidelines available on the podium or desk or whatever as well at that
Do we have
time.
any more?
I have one more.
How many did you make, Marty?
Here's
6.
6?
I have
Did you
one.
get one?
No.
You still have one of these?
I just have one.
I
Okay.
have two.
Danielle doesn't get one.
Oh, we can make more copies
Well,
too.
if there's a date on it, I'm
That's
sure I can find it.
That's a non-issue.
Maybe.
If someone wants their
got a
comment
copy
entered into
for
the
you.
record, and is
Okay.
there a record to enter it in?
No more than even during a regular meeting, the only record
I
you
mean, I
have
don't
is the
know.
tape. Anybody wants something entered into the record, they need to give us a written copy.
If they do, then there would be a
That
minute
goes
for
into the
that
record.
evening?
That goes
Yeah.
into the minutes, that will be filed, in the file with the evening's agenda.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know any public commission, public hearing I've ever been to, I make a real point of having a statement that I then leave with the clerk and it's entered into the,
But likewise for public comment.
absolutely, absolutely.
We need to do a resolution when we have these finalized, adopting them,
Yep.
having them supersede this
But
document.
I don't know if that's a resolution or that was just a document or a policy, there's no, I only look quickly, I don't see reference to a
Where did
resolution.
this come from, Bill?
It was formulated about 3 or 4 years
Yeah,
ago
I think
after a
I think
comment
it's one
by
that,
I
John.
remember,
I think it's one that I did 3 or 4,
Well,
5 years ago.
I think
That's right,
anyway,
okay.
whether there's
I don't know if we
It was
adopted it or
also
not, but I
Doesn't make any
think
difference, just say, they
Say
take precedence.
supersede
It
all
takes- yes.
previous.
we do a resolution adopting
Yeah.
a new policy and saying it takes precedence over any other.
Yep.
And I think the two can be looked at, because there's good points in both.
Okay.
You saw the step down part, Marty?
Pardon?
You saw the step down part
Yes,
on the last page?
yeah.
Let me take this model that we now are working with, I'll do a second draft. That will give everybody time to look at the one that Deborah shared and Marty distributed, and we can always pull in, make changes. I mean, this doesn't have to be done tonight, and it will be done, I'm sure, soon, okay? Everybody comfortable with that for the
Yes.
next step? So
I
that's
had
what we'll
just-
do.
Can I ask just one question? Are you, where are you at with the session to address are at a work session or at the regular board meeting?
At a work session.
At a work session?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Same thing, only a different night. Okay. My little notes all collated here, if that's even feasible. The next item on the agenda is planning board alternate position. We've had a couple of interests. We have one, I should have had a note on that. Where did that go?
Tim Palmer wants, yeah, he's a member.
I had some notes on that, and a copy of our committee. Our committee has changed a bit since the publication of the handbook, right down to the planning secretary and so on. But we have one alternate position, and the first person that I believe I was made aware that was interested was Tim Palmer. And I believe here it is, it got picked up by that clip. Okay, Mr. Lattenville left, Mr. Wagner moved into Mr. Lattenville's position. Mr. Wagner has been an alternate. That leaves a need for one alternate. And those are one-year positions, I believe. No, they must be 2
No.
years.
The
Those are
alternates should be 2 years.
2 years. And we've talked a bit about Tim. I think he would be a good addition. I've spoken with the department. They don't disagree. If everybody's comfortable, I'll do a resolution as normal to appoint him.
is he the only person interested?
I recently received note that there was one other person who was interested, who had served codes before, Ted Luck. That came in after.
Ted Luck was on an assessment.
Assessment
Board of
review,
Assessment
yeah,
Review.
Board of Assessment Review, that's right.
Well-
Recently resigned.
I think out of respect to Mr. Palmer, having served on the several committees prior to this, that he certainly earned the nod to get the first crack at that opening, so I certainly be in favor of
Okay.
that.
And he should be able to bring a good knowledge, working knowledge of, since he went through the whole process of the new comprehensive land use plan and the zoning. You should be able to bring a pretty good knowledge of
The next item, we need a delegate for the Association of Towns. It appears we would have 3 board members going. My suggestion,
Martin Mannix.
there you
Did I
go.
say that right out loud?
As Deputy Marty, can you do that for us?
Yes.
I have to submit this soon, so I will do that.
I believe you
Make
need an
sure have a
alternate
copy.
too, and Mr. Wood.
that. I recommend Mr. Lemoy.
I bet you do.
Tom as alternate?
You have to break
Absolutely.
the tie. No, I
He's
just-
the ranking Democrat with most seniority here, so that's.
Oh, there you go. That's how we moved
It's gonna be
it.
a cocktail party anyway, so.
Can't argue with that.
Okay, next on the agenda is the minutes. We seem to agree that Tom's on resolution 1 should be
Bullshit.
remain as a yes, and we have the other one correct. Tom, if you see anything, let us know. You tend to be the guy that rakes through these, but let me know before
that was the
Friday.
only- That was the only one that
I know. Let me know before Friday.
I believe I was there for all the others.
Resolution 45. Now, before we go there, well, we better go there first. Deborah discovered there was an error in the resolution to adopt our 2013 town board meeting schedule.
It was just one, right?
There was one, but it is better to just pass a new resolution. It got quite wordy to try and correct the one. Just take my word for it.
All right,
So,
so we're doing a new
we
resolution, with
have
all the
a
same dates
resolution
except for the one that we missed.
To supersede, but we also had a recommendation at the meeting that we should change some verbiage, including rescheduled on ones that were rescheduled and canceled. And it just cleaned it up. The other one wasn't really succinct, if you will. So I said, let's just do a new resolution. This will go in place and supersede. So Danielle, how about resolution 45, amending resolution 01302, town board meetings for 2013?
Whereas the town board monthly and semi-monthly meetings are held on the first and third Monday respectively of each month at 7 p.m. prevailing time at the town hall on 151 Banker Road, Plattsburgh, New York. And whereas resolution 01-02 was passed with dates for those meetings that were incorrect, and the board wishes to correct the official schedule for the board meetings. Therefore, be it resolved that due to holidays and observances, the town board does hereby change the dates of its respective scheduled meetings as follows. Monday.
You don't need to read through every one of
Oh,
those.
thank you. Resolved that the revised schedule be posted on the town's website, the town clerk's bulletin board, and a copy of the dates changes be given to the finance manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
And which one is the only
Mr.
one that changed?
Mannix.
The October?
One thing, Bernie, Danielle read that it was resolution 01, 02, it's 013.
Oh, 13. Sorry.
I thought I heard it, and I looked up,
I didn't
and I
pick up.
found out confirmation that there was somebody else that heard it.
It is 013.
Yes,
Right.
just for the record, so that the resolution is correct, it was read
But
incorrectly.
you know, if I make
been a
it
long night, I know.
2013, then I'm really a year older.
Yes.
Just leave the O off, and say leave the O off and say 1302.
Well, that's a good point.
Any other discussion?
So the only one that was changed was the November one?
No, I think it was in October.
October one.
October was,
I don't recall exactly what was
We
wrong.
had
Oh, in the-
October 7th instead of October
and
14th.
Deb and I found something with February too.
The other thing I did, and it just kind of helped me to make sure
Yeah.
we had it and I can post it. I did a crib sheet that you can post that just has a listing.
Okay.
If you've got it,
Yeah, it's on the back.
yeah, oh, you got it there,
Okay,
okay.
it's a tighter stick.
That will make it a little easier to put on your wall what we did. Okay? Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yeah.
Paul Lemoy,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Next, we have resolution 46, request to attend annual code enforcement educational conference.
Whereas it is in the best interest of the town to remain current and informed concerning changes in regulation and participation will award 24 credits to maintain their license. Therefore, it is resolved that Stephen Imhoff and Alan Reese, code enforcement officers, be allowed to attend the Northern Adirondack Code Enforcement Officials Association's 18th Annual Educational Conference held from March 4th through March 7th, 2013 in Lake Placid, New York at the Crown Plaza Resort and Golf Club. And it is further resolved that $480 for conference fees and $718 for lodging and meals be charged to the code and zoning budget. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and codes enforcement officers.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Lemoy, any discussion?
Well, yes. I don't believe the first whereas is clear. Whereas it is in the best interest of the town to remain current and informed regarding change. I believe rather than the town, we should say town zoning enforcement officials.
Code enforcement
Code
officers?
enforcement officers.
Yep.
Whereas in the best interest of the town's code enforcement officers to remain current and informed concerning changes in regulation and participation in the NACEOA Annual Educational Conference will award 24 credits to maintain their license.
Okay,
Agree with that.
Tom, you made the motion, Paul, second, you
Yeah,
agree
it's
with the
fine.
amendment? Okay, any other discussion?
Is the term, are they officially licensed to be a code enforcement officer?
I'm quite
Yes.
sure of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
they
Quite
have to take,
possibly.
civil service exams and pass very, it's and competitive, they are competitive.
I just didn't know if it's an actual license, like, yeah, I'd be,
Thinking.
I'd be hard,
It might be more of a certification. though.
right, I'd be hard pressed to determine a license, because a license means that you probably have to apply to the New York State, and it just sounds like you have to.
Or is it a certification? I'll find out,
That
it's a
would
good
be my
question.
guess. I don't believe it's a
That's a good
license.
question, you might be right.
One thing Marty always says, he always
Here.
asks that,
In the letter, it says, "We are required by New York State Codes Division to have 24 credit hours each year to maintain our license. With attending this conference, it'll give us the 24 credit hours."
I don't know if that's just a term he uses that. I don't know if a license.
he does say that, I don't know if it's certification. But I was gonna say, the other thing, Marty always asks, he always asks for a copy of the agenda.
Travel voucher, there should be a copy
Oh,
of
no,
the
I
travel
know
voucher.
agenda of what meeting.
Right,
Yeah,
He's done that every time he said this one.
What's the,
Maybe got more
And
now.
I'll reserve the comments that I should make.
As indicated.
well, basically, and part of what's going on here is, they used to go to New York, and they're electing not to go to New York, but to support the presentations being done in the area, because it is better for other codes enforcement officials to be able to do this up here.
I think they found it more beneficial as far as interaction to go to this one
Much more
rather than the
focused.
New York City one, so.
Better network.
And they're getting the same state officials coming in. I spoke with Phil Von Bargen today, and he indicated they're not going. He's trying to keep his conference money for the same. Use it to generate local, and it's less expensive and much more focused, so.
Do we have
And those are
anyone
good things.
Highway superintendent usually does the same
From
thing.
planning, no.
They go to,
With anybody else?
highway superintendent goes to some other one,
Tom.
or Syracuse or something.
You and I and Paul are going.
Planning board members, I'm not sure, Tom. I think, boy, I don't know for sure. Department, no.
Don't some of them have to have,
Maybe Jeff Wagner's going, I don't know.
I don't know.
don't some of them have to have some kind of?
Yeah, but Phil's
But
doing
they
the
can do it
training.
up here.
Oh, he's doing, oh.
Phil can actually do the training for all those people
Oh, he
in-house.
can, okay.
Right here, yeah, which is a good
Yeah.
thing. Good thing for us.
Yeah.
But I will check on the license or certification, because there is a difference, you're right.
Right.
Just to get clarification. Any other discussion? Get a roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne.
Yes.
Gerard
Yes.
Renner. Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 47, 01347, Stormwater Management RFP.
nowhere in the state.
Whereas the Town of Plattsburgh Master Plan has recognized and recommends the need to identify stormwater infrastructure to inventory, map, and prioritize areas of concern and generate a plan of action. And whereas the Lake Champlain Basin Program has announced a request for proposals, RFP, to provide funding for technical services to inventory, map, assess, and identify stormwater infrastructure for an amount up to $200,000. And whereas staff from the water, wastewater, planning, and highway departments have met with a representative from Stone Environmental Incorporated, 535 Stone Cutters Way, Montpelier, Vermont, who have demonstrated the resources and expertise to develop an RFP to apply for funding that is available from the Lake Champlain Basin Program. And whereas at no cost to the town of Plattsburgh, Stone Environmental will develop the RFP and, if funded, will partner with the town to design, develop, and execute a plan to help inventory and map stormwater infrastructure, assess vulnerabilities, and identify appropriate green initiatives inclusive of stormwater retrofitting technologies. Therefore, be it resolved that the supervisor on behalf of the town be authorized to execute any and all documents with Stone Environmental Incorporated to prepare an RFP to the Lake Champlain Basin Program for funding a town stormwater project. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, water, wastewater director, highway superintendent, and planning department.
Have a motion.
So move.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette. Any discussion? A lot earlier. Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. I really think that is a great opportunity for us, so we'll keep you tuned in. Remember, that's a request, it's not a gimme yet. Resolution 48, and I would just note, one of the things, some resolutions came at us real fast the end of last week, and some of that was the realization that we don't have a meeting next Monday. Keep that in mind, that's a regular meeting that due to the holiday is canceled. So that's part of why this, I mean, I'm a little pig-headed too, I really do like to have resolutions at regular
So the next
meetings.
meeting's a work session.
The
Yes.
next meeting will be a work session.
Correct.
I'm trying to think
Yes.
if that's a
Yeah.
fifth Monday or not.
No.
Okay.
No,
Yep. Resolution 48, request for highway superintendent to order a 2013 Bobcat skid steer.
Whereas normal use requires that the town must periodically update vehicles used to maintain roads and sidewalks in the town of Plattsburgh. And whereas Jim Woods, highway superintendent, has submitted a letter dated January 11th, 2013, requesting permission to place in order for a new 2013 Bobcat skid steer through the New York State OGS contracts at a total estimated cost not to exceed $30,000. And whereas town board has considered said request and acknowledges the need to upgrade the department's equipment, now therefore be it resolved that the highway superintendent is hereby authorized to make said purchase, and the supervisor is authorized to sign any and all related documents required for the purchase of said vehicle. And be it further resolved that payment be made payable from highway budget equipment and capital outlay account DA 51302000, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and highway
A
superintendent.
motion.
So moved.
Mr. Lemoy, second Mr. Wood. Before discussion, I just have to share with Jim. Jim and I had some conversations about this today, and following our conversations, Jim, I went out to the garage and Marty was there, because what I was looking at and what I was telling you didn't jive well with me. A piece of equipment like this cost $100,000. As you can see, we're going to buy them for less than 30, and it's on state contract. All of a sudden, everything I was saying it just wasn't, the numbers weren't coming together. It's not the full piece with the blower and whatnot in front. It's just a skid and that has a bucket on the front of it, I guess. We have a plow, these guys, and I looked a while, Marty maybe had the same thoughts. I said, my God, these mechanics, really earn. What they piece together, patch together, keep running. They got an engine sitting over here, they're gonna put in a piece of equipment over there, borrow the blower from this and add the blade from that. This is a brand new piece, but it's the skid loader, not the entire unit. And you'll see on this paper, I wanted to give you just for your information, I seem to be short some, I don't know why. If anybody doesn't want one, I'll put one with my, no, thank you, Marty. He had a trade-in value of the piece we have that I can't imagine it's worth that much. But I guess it is, and I shouldn't say too much, because rather than trade it in, they got a deal they'll do with another municipality. Help them out, and we'll take the
Jim
trade out.
actually indicated to me, he thought, we're not done the negotiations, he thought he could increase that number.
God bless him. It's a 92, as you can see. But anyway, it's so needed. It's like a lot of things that, you know, we shake our head having to spend the money, but we've had some lawsuit issues relative to sidewalks. We've had one snowstorm, and I've had a lot more than one call about sidewalks, and, you know, these guys just gotta get the work done. That one blower, I think I had shared, sucked a mailbox that was buried in the bank by DOT.
I found my mailbox today, by the way, buried in the bank.
There you go.
Showed up.
Are they trading, we're trading something in?
Got my mail.
No.
I got my mail
He's
from
gonna
December.
sell it to a neighboring town.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Got my mail from
Now,
December now.
And the other thing that's going on is, with the unit we have now, it has a number of attachments, and those attachments will fit the new
Okay.
machine.
That's great.
And in fact, one of the
Should be
attachments,
part of it.
we didn't have the power in the pump you had to have in order to make the attachment really work. And yet this new machine is
Sorry.
sized with a larger pump, and so it will work.
That's great.
And in
This-
addition to doing the sidewalks, this pump also, or this machine becomes a key piece of equipment when they're working on the shoulders of roads, when they're dropping, you know, the gravel in on the shoulders of road. It's-
Probably cleaning up too. When
Yeah.
they sweep.
Sure, yes, it's a great tool for that.
Sure.
Is Bobcat in Plattsburgh, I guess Bobcat has won the OGS contract for skidsters, is that a reasonable
That's-
assumption?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have no idea if it's Bobcat in Plattsburgh or.
Well, that's whose business card is attached to the top of this, that's
Oh,
why.
okay, well, I don't have that, so.
That tips you
okay.
off, Paul?
Yeah.
I mean, I have it someplace else, I don't.
That letterhead has the Plattsburgh
Yeah.
sales.
Okay,
Right.
good.
Right,
Adam Hungerford.
right. I mean, that was my only other question is, are we saving anything if we try and put this out to bid and maybe try and buy it locally? But if we're buying it locally already on state contract.
They already went out to talk to a couple other suppliers, just to be sure. And whenever John Deere came in, they were like $20,000 higher.
Oh, yeah, John Deere would be.
Somebody else came in and they were like $16,000.
There's only a couple of brands I would think would come close, maybe Case and.
Yeah. So they're comfortable with the
On my tool.
OGS
I was in Vermont.
situation.
Not all
Box was
department
missing when I
heads
came
are
back.
created equal, but I'll tell you
Got
what,
mail today.
Jim Woods is about as miserly with dollars
Good.
and equipment as I've ever seen.
Well, I'm-
$25 in it.
Please.
Ever seen. Guy's amazing.
My thought was to try and put it out to bid locally if we could, and if we're buying it locally on state contract,
Yeah.
I'm
He
happy as
doesn't,
can be.
he doesn't miss too many questions that you can think of, let me tell you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 49, request to purchase water meters.
Whereas Resolution 09-296 authorized the standardization of water reading meters to be Neptune water meters. And whereas Neptune Technology Group has submitted documentation stating Thai Sales Incorporated is the authorized Level 1 certified distributor of Neptune and is the exclusive supplier of Neptune products in upstate New York market area. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board approve and purchase of water meters as attached, and that the water and wastewater director is hereby authorized to make said purchase in the amount of $16,604.50, and be it further resolved that payment be made payable from the 2013 water and wastewater budget account number SW6.8340.4170, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the Water, Wastewater Department and Finance Manager.
Motion?
So moved.
I don't know who said first, Tom, and was that
Gerard, I believe.
Gerard?
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Bernie, the two amounts don't match.
Yes, they do. Well, that, I checked into that. If you look at the tie sales on the next page, you've got the top two highlighted. You can see that they were highlighted. The top one is $210. He's buying 50 of those. $244.18. He's buying 25 of those. So the 210 is $10,500. The 25 is $6,104.50, and that total is $16,604.50.
But why does the,
Why do we have all this other
Invoice.
stuff for
Because
$1,000?
what happens is, according to him, tie sales always gives him at the beginning of the year all their items and the prices so that he can work with that, so that they know what it is. There's 3 bids, and he's getting them from different ones. The second one he's getting from Ferguson instead of Tyson. But that's why this particular one is. This one is exclusive supplier for this area, so that's why. And these, remember, these were supposed to be that we had voted that these should be
Standardized.
Right.
standardized.
Yeah.
So what's the thing we're buying from some other company?
Well, that's the meter installation fittings. Separate one. It's the next motion. It's the next
Oh,
motion.
it's the next
It's
motion.
the next
Yeah.
motion. But I just wanted to point out, you're gonna see the same list on the next one too.
I'd make a point that I think might be worthwhile, and I think with Pat on board, we may find ourselves ultimately moving in a direction like this. This is what the norm is in larger municipalities. You go out at the beginning of the year and request bids, and those bids are a set of prices. And the prices, and you can put a factor in there if they want to put a factor in there that this is for the first quarter, the second quarter. But those are your prices, and therefore you know where you're gonna go to get your stuff. And so when you've got an incidental purchase to make, and, in the course of what we're doing, 16,000 really is an incidental purchase, you can do it. Because you've gone out to bid, you have the proposals, and you can do it. And I think, we're gonna benefit if we start to move that way in the future.
I'm just curious as to why he's only buying $16,000 worth. I know at our committee meetings, Tom, you'll remember, I think he had set aside a budget of somewhere closer to $50,000 or better, because he has a timeline to replace these meters, and the town ultimately reaps a benefit from these, because the older meters are reading inaccurately, and as meters age, they don't speed up, they slow down. So we're in effect selling water that we're
Well, you're gonna have the fittings.
not
too,
getting
so
paid for.
Between the two of them is 38,000.
I just thought that the
Yeah, I know, you and I
the meters
suggested
alone was
Yeah.
because we have, I think he said 500 of them throughout the
Yeah.
whole town, and he's probably done 60 or 70 of them in in one phase, and he's trying to spread them out so that when and if he has to replace them again, which he will, he's not replacing the whole town at one time. They'll wear out in stages, just like he's replacing them in stages. So
I
I'm
think
just
there's concern of how many they can put in a season.
possibly, but I mean, again, like Marty says, this quote's probably only good for the first quarter, maybe the first half of the year, and then Tie Sales will be taking a look at whether or not they can continue to sell
It
us at
says
that
expires
price.
12/31/13, he's got a
Okay.
year on that.
All right, I missed that.
Yep. Good question, that's why I looked. Good question. So
But
it
Bernie,
should be
this,
good for you.
this thing says that we're buying water meters as attached, and it doesn't, the attachment,
Well,
the attachment doesn't say how many or for how
you're
much
right.
money. It doesn't come to the amount of money we're approving
I agree.
that resolution to.
That's why I.
So
I
we
talked
need
with him.
something from him saying we're buying 400 meters at this amount of money and make it come up to the number we're approving.
Well, that's why I talked to him this morning. He says, well, it's in the purchase. But you're gonna look at it, he says, but he
It's
doesn't
in
have
nothing,
that yet.
it's in nothing we
That's not
have.
what we're
I-
approving.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I-
We're approving this
I
entire
didn't
list
tell
that
you
doesn't add
what
up to anything he's buying.
But we're approving an amount up to 6,604.
No, it says we're approving meters as attached. That's what the resolution says.
According to Tom, he said we're buying 50 meters.
Ones that says 210, and we're buying 25, the ones that are at the price of 244.18.
15 and 25.
And that's what that's what they're putting together.
Paul's point is well taken.
Is there any, I mean, is the purchase of these, if it's good for a year, can we buy them 2 weeks from now and have the right documentation to approve what we're really buying? I mean, is it that critical that we buy them today?
The price is going up. That's why he wants us in.
It's going up when?
He said the price was, well, he's getting them for less than the amount on the sheet, right?
I
Is
don't
that
think
right,
so.
Tom?
That's the second one.
Why don't we just stay with one resolution and just,
Yeah. And if the
Top
price is
49.
going up, I
The
just.
price
asked that-
expires December 31st, 2013. You got 12 months to buy these at
Well,
that price.
I
By the Jesus.
croak. The answer I was given to the question is the one I gave you, that he said the price is going up.
he was right about
It
that,
is
he just didn't tell you when.
December.
Yeah, it probably went up December 31st, 2012.
No, you know better than that. This sheet is a spec sheet. I'm guessing he got his prices below what they spec them out if he buys them now. Tom, do you know anything about
The
that?
math you said adds up to the number he's looking for, so we're
That's
buying it
correct.
at that price.
That is correct.
So we're not saving any money.
It comes out to exactly that, and I did it twice.
How many
just to make
meters,
sure.
Tom?
50.
There's 50.
So we should insert the purchase of 50 water
20,
meters.
25, Bernie, as item 1 and 25 for item 2.
Uh,
25 at 210
No.
and
No,
25 at
no,
240. No?
50 at 210, 25 at 244.
That's 75 meters, not 50.
There are some that have antennas or something, you use them for different.
Still
different-
75.
No, but if we're buying 50 and then we're buying 25 of another type, we're buying 75. And I was told earlier we're buying 50.
Again, why I would ask that we vote on this 2 weeks from now and table this
Yeah.
until we meet again and have the right information
Okay,
in front of us to vote
well,
on.
let me offer
Well,
one other.
it's gonna be a couple, yeah.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
Let me offer one other thing because of what he said, and I don't have the details, I can't represent him. It appears that if we had said in the resolve that we were gonna purchase 75 water meters, 50 at the rate of $210 each, 25 at the rate of $244.18 each, for a total amount of $16,604, we'd be happy. Why don't we amend it that way? If it's anything other than that, I won't execute it. But at least we've got an option to go forward if it's gonna cost us and this is something he needs now. There's a reason we're doing this now, and it isn't just to get it out of the way and get him on the shelf.
Okay, I don't see why, since it just says the amount on the resolution, that we have to put in how many there are.
Well, isn't that what he told you? You're doing 50 and 25? And the math works?
Yes.
Then why don't we put it in? Then we have specificity of what we're buying, the quantities, and
Okay,
the
now
price.
who wrote up the resolution?
I assume Patty did, the department did, not us. But I do know there was a reason he requested this get done tonight. And I think the reason is gonna cost us if we don't. I would rather clarify and execute. I can sit on it, doesn't mean we have to do it if it isn't exactly what happens.
I would ask him then also to clarify how long this price list is good for, because it says on it, it's good till 12/31/13. And if his argument is, we have to do this now because the price is going up, then I guess it throws all of this right out the window.
I think that's the point Paul made.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't,
We need some clarification.
Duh.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Well, if they sent us to this and don't want to hold that price till 12/31/13, why are we doing business with them?
Because they're the,
well,
I brought that
they're
up
the
before,
sole
because
distributor.
they're the sole distributor. And when we pass the exclusivity or the standardization thing, we kind of locked ourselves in.
Unlock.
I'm looking at his, and I am jumping ahead because these pieces are related to the fittings, and maybe they're the ones for a total of 21,000 that if we don't buy now, they go up.
Those are,
I don't know.
there was 3 quotes, and those are gonna be bought through Ferguson, and yes, those wouldn't be. The
That
top-
says
But
1231
you'll
also.
notice that attached to that is the Thai sales one again,
Right,
with the same exact thing, except the different ones are pointed out to you
they're highlighted.
that are highlighted down near the bottom of the first page.
And the invoice that he has attached, instead of $163 each, he's got $149. Instead of $10.54, he's got $9. So that may be where the difference is.
Can we make a point that instead of just, I'll back up. I'm concerned that one resolution has the supervisor authorized to sign all documents, and the other resolution has the water and wastewater director authorized to make said purchase, and doesn't mention the supervisor at all. I think what we want to say on both of these is that the supervisor and the finance manager will agree on the purchase of the equipment and the appropriateness of the information to be attached to the resolution.
And I'm not opposed with moving forward with the expenditure of the 16,600, but I think we need the justification that Mr. Lemoy had asked for. We need to have that
Put the proper
justification.
information in there.
I don't see why we can't wait 2 weeks on that one. I will agree with the next one, Bernie, that the
It
next
looks
one
like there's
says,
a price difference.
within 48 hours, if we
Yep.
don't act on it, the price is going up. That one I'll
That
buy,
one looks pretty
but
clear.
not this one.
Well,
Then move the table.
I mean,
I did.
not my money.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Oh, I-
Move the table it again.
I moved the table this resolution.
Here.
I'll second the motion to table.
Hold on. We're still on resolution 49.
Yes.
I got a motion to table. Let me get this down, please. Motion to table was from
Me.
Paul,
Paul, and the second was Gerard.
Yes.
I don't know who brings these up, okay? But I got these, and I called up the Water and Wastewater Department to find out what he's doing. I got that information.
Yep.
If this is not an acceptable format, why the heck did you put it in the packet? Personally, I'm not,
I didn't know this
I don't
was
know
an
how many
acceptable
things
format.
I'm supposed to call to get the information for this, if he needs these right away. I personally, I'm going to resign from the water and sewer.
Because there's a discussion on the resolution?
Because every time we have the same type of thing happen. The things aren't made out correctly, the resolutions aren't made out correctly, and
Well, you can take that one up
I'm
with
told that we need
Patty.
to do it right away, and
I think the last time, Tom, that you're referring to was one that was presented to us 3 months ahead of the resolution coming forward, and then the resolution came forward in an October resolution or a late September resolution, and I didn't feel that there was a need to follow through on that. If they hadn't had the need all summer long, why was there a need in the late
so
fall?
why is there not a need in January versus
I
October?
I respect the questions of council just as much as I respect the information you brought before the board. And if council doesn't feel that the information is correct or is clear, and I'm looking at it and I don't think it's that clear anymore either, then again, what's the problem with waiting 2 weeks? And I don't think Mr. Stoddard will have a problem with waiting 2 weeks. Nobody on this board has said that they are opposed to us buying water meters. We're opposed to the resolution in front of us, and it needs to be a little clarity. That's all we're asking for. And I'll take just as much heat from Mr. Stoddard as you will.
I get a motion to table, a second. Any other discussion on the motion to table? I'm gonna do a roll call on the motion to table.
Thomas Wood,
No,
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Paul Lemoy,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
No, the table is carried. And I'll tell them we need a rewrite with more specificity. I'm assuming some of that specificity is the number of meters, if it's 50 and 25, and the price of the two?
Bernie, I also take issue with the language of the resolution. Either the supervisor's the person.
And the supervisor, yeah.
Or he's not.
All I need is the second page to have the same number as the front page, that's all. And whatever we're buying. When the two numbers aren't even remotely close to the same, like, I'm not buying it.
Okay, I explained why they weren't. And personally, if you want to put Paul on the water and sewer so that he can get this information correct at the first time, I'll be happy.
Too late. That one is tabled, we'll see that in 2 weeks. Let's go to resolution 50, which is meter installation fittings.
Whereas the Water and Wastewater Department is responsible for installation and maintenance of water meters in the town of Plattsburgh, and whereas formal written quotes for the purchase of fittings necessary to facilitate the installation and maintenance meters was received and reviewed by Mr. Stoddard, Director of the Water and Wastewater Department, therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the purchase of the previously mentioned fittings in the amount of $21,697.50, and it is further resolved that the supervisor be authorized to sign all related documents relative to the purchase of said fittings to be made payable from the water wastewater account SW.6.834.4170 for 2013, and it is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and the water wastewater director.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, discussion.
Point.
If
I'd
we're
like to, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I would like to see attached a sheet that specifically cites the items being purchased, the unit price, and it totals. And it better add up to $21,697.50.
And also, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just saying, it also might be helpful if we know if this was a low quote.
Are these fittings?
Ferguson, well, I can either explain it or, you can just say, get it again.
Go ahead, explain it.
There's 3 bids, Thai Sales, HD Supply, and Ferguson. You have the papers from Thai Sales with the same information. The ones that are highlighted are the prices that they would have had. You wanted to buy 150 of the angle ball valve. That's the first one that was highlighted. The second one, that was $163.33 per. And the next one was $10.54 per. Wanted to buy 300 of those. These, of course, would have probably been used for the things that we didn't buy. But then if you look at the Ferguson Water Works, you'll see that they have the same, be 150 is $128.11 versus the 163, so this is a low bid. And then the second one was $8.27. Those are the ones we're buying 300 of. If you multiply 300 times 827, you get 19,216.50. Multiply the 128 times 150. 2,481, the total is $21,697.50.
You got 3 quotes.
Bernie, this has to go out to a formal bid, not 3 price quotes, it's over $20,000. This has to go out to a formal competitive bid.
Is this, no, they can't be state contract. He's getting 3 paper quotes. You're
Yeah.
right.
It has to.
Is it 20 or 25?
It's 20. 10, it used to be 10 and it was moved to 20.
Let me check that.
Don't you think, Gerard?
I believe it was
It's
2.
20,
It's 20.
20,000,
Yeah.
that's the break point.
The problem we're going to be faced with this is if what you had told us, Bernie, about the price going up on this, we could see a significant, I'm not talking about circumventing our purchase policy or anything. I mean, maybe we lower the amount so that he cannot order more than $20,000 so that we don't violate our own purchase policy.
As long as he doesn't order more in the
As long
next
as he
6
doesn't-
months, because
Well,
then you got a problem.
I'll tell you what, that's absolutely violating your competitive bid policy by saying, we got 3 price quotes in, so now we'll order just under the limit to get there. You're
No.
exactly
That's
circumventing
exactly
that.
what you don't allow.
Yeah,
All right.
But the resolution again
And
didn't
Patrick
specify
would
the
be the
number.
first guy to tell you that.
yeah. I mean, he put it together, wants to spend that amount. There's absolutely no choice. We can't act on this either. This has to go out to a competitive bid.
Yeah, it's too bad the resolution didn't have the specific number to. Okay, do I have a motion, is there any other discussion?
Motion on what?
A motion on the resolution right at this point. I don't have a motion to table.
Well, a motion to
Gonna
table,
have to
you'd have to
vote
put it out for bid. You'd have to vote no to send this out, to send this back and have them
Really?
submit a
This
motion
has
to
to
be
be
voted
fast
out.
This has to be voted
Well,
down.
you could table it, and they could come back and tell you that they reviewed and decided they had to go back out to bid. And if for some reason it has been gone through some kind of a bid process that's appropriate, we haven't killed it.
We haven't authorized anything to go out to bid, so how could it have, Marty? We're the only governing
Yeah.
body that can authorize anything to go out to bid.
All right, listen, would you call him up? He said he'd be on his cell phone.
Well, this one's, if it's over 20,000.
Ask him if he got if he got bids or he
He
just.
didn't go to.
He can't go to
He didn't do an
competitive
ad.
bid
He
without our
can't. It's a
authority.
resolution.
Yeah, exactly. It has to advertise with the clerk. It's,
That one's,
Can't do it.
there's no way around
I
that,
haven't done a bid in months.
no way around that on this one.
and hopefully these
Okay,
guys
so
still
we'll
come
spend
in at
another
that price.
$4,000,
and-
$6,000. Well, actually, it'd be more than that.
If we have to,
Gotta
Tom,
do the
in
ad, we
order
gotta go to
do
bid.
it right, we will.
Totally, I'm glad you picked up, I was
Yeah.
looking at totally other things, should never.
160.
Hopefully, the finance manager would have caught me, but anyway. My suggestion is that we take a vote on this, and if it goes down, we can start over, because we need a resolution to go to bid. Or, I mean, I don't know if,
If you pass it, you're in violation of your own purchase policy.
well, no, we can't pass it, I'm saying as opposed to tabling even. I don't know why you table it.
I don't know why you table it
We
either.
can spend another $5,000.
And I need to find out,
You spend $5,000, Tom, but you're in violation of the law.
Yeah.
purchase policy
I
is
don't like to spend more money than.
And not only that, I just looked at it and that is exactly what it is.
20,000.
Yeah.
20.
The Public Works is 35,000,
Right.
unless he thought he
He
was trying
might,
to.
he might,
It's Public Works is 35,000, if
Yeah.
he thinks he's
These are
getting.
goods and commodities, though.
I
There's no way,
agree with
there's
you
no way
on-
getting around
I'm
that.
I'm
let
telling
me
you what
make
he
a
may
point,
be
if you,
thinking.
it's interesting. One of the earlier proposal, which was tabled, you'll notice that it refers to Town of Plattsburgh DPW, Department of Public Works.
That was a copy and paste.
No, that didn't come out of us, that came out of the bidder. Because I almost, laughed a little bit about it, saying, I wonder
on
if
their
the other
sales
fellas
sheet.
know that
I
we're
see.
now got a Department of Public
Yeah,
Works.
on their bid sheet.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And the others did not use a DPW? Kind of irrelevant, I guess, anyway. Oh, they did. Thai sales, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on 50? If not, we'll have a roll call vote on the resolution.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Paul Lemoy,
No.
I'm sorry, can I ask you to go back and tell me what I'm voting on?
You're voting on purchasing the meters.
I thought we were.
Or,
No,
excuse me,
no, the-
purchasing the.
Fittings.
I thought we had a
Fittings.
motion to table.
No, we're
No,
voting down
we never
this,
got a
and
motion
he's
to
gotta
table.
come back and put it to bid by voting this resolution down.
Do you want to change your vote, Mr. Mannix?
He didn't say that.
No, I mean, I do want to change my vote. No.
Are you voting no?
I'm voting no.
We're having a problem with the councilman here.
Yes.
Paul, you're still voting no.
I'm still voting no.
Gerard,
No.
Bernard Bassett,
No, the resolution does not carry.
Tom, did you know what we were voting on?
Yes, I know what we're voting on,
I just want to make.
and I don't give a darn.
So I just don't want to be confused now that we're
I'm
all,
sick and tired of spending more money than we need to spend.
Oh, you gotta
When
follow
we
the law
need
on
the
that.
stuff, and we absolutely have to.
I mean, I was willing to clarify the first one and get it done, but that was below 20,000. Just a quick footnote, while we're on water, wastewater, sewer camera. We had an incident 2 weeks ago now, I guess, where we had a tree root get in the main in Cliff Haven. And the response was, oh my God, call to the town, and I got a grin on my face, I think, but if it were me, it'd be the opposite side of a grin. I mean, call from the homeowner, the sewage is backing up in my laundry room, in our washer. That's terrible. Of course, the boys scramble out. You can't just go out there and start ripping open the earth. They gotta find out where's the problem. Could be our problem, could be their lateral. Long story short, and it was a fairly long story for the homeowner, who's been good, but not a pleasant thing. And there's a cleanup and a mop up and some liabilities. They discovered there was indeed a root, and the root was in our main, and it was our problem, and we had to fix it. And of course, you gotta go through and you gotta find right where it is. And long story short, had we had the sewer camera, they could have gone out, cameraed the line, would have found the problem, identified where it was much faster, resolved it much faster, and certainly saved that poor homeowner. In fact, when I spoke with him, his concern wasn't about what happened. He understood, he was told to put a check valve in. His neighbor came to see me the next day and said, I've learned that check valve on his system, he's gonna move it to the next house, mine. We need to put a check valve in, but, you know, where does it stop? And as I shared with both of them, you know, if we had taken delivery of a decision the board made, it wasn't an easy decision, it was an awful lot of money. This whole scenario would have resolved much differently. So, I mean, that was an incident that took place that, and as I spoke with Scott, it's on their agenda that this summer they'll get out there and be proactive and camera those lines and see where the roots are coming in, where the breaks are. A break's one thing, but where you're going to have a plug that backs the neighbor's raw sewage into your home. You know, for those folks, that's worth a lot. And tough one.
Whose route was it?
Well, I asked that question. But, you know, ultimately it becomes our
The tree's
responsibility to make sure our lines, just like we're gonna use the camera if the root's in his line,
Exactly.
you know, tell us how you're cleaning it up. So you know, I think we did. I made the comment, or Marty did, I think, how we anguished over certain decisions. And boy, that one was around a long time, and it's a crap load of money. But some equipment we have to have, or we should have. You've got two reports. There's no discussion. Those will be with resolutions next time we meet. I will follow up with Scott tomorrow, and we'll do some things with those resolutions as indicated.
Gerard,
We're meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock, correct?
Starting Point?
Yeah, we have to finish our
Bernie's
tour.
gonna meet with them in the morning.
If you're meeting
we're-
with,
We're finishing our tour of the facilities, I thought.
No, he said he's got a lot of items that we need to sit down and look at, and then he may have time to go out and finish the tour.
well, if the committee's meeting, good, you can very well
Oh,
express some result. I have no problem with that.
I'm not going to.
Well, I plan on meeting with him regardless of whether or not you're here, Tom, because I'm sure he's going to be having some questions on what didn't transpire tonight, and it's plain and simple, the resolutions weren't clear, and one of them was in direct violation. We couldn't follow through on that
Oh,
one,
okay,
so,
we'll tell him that tomorrow.
yeah.
That's very good. Were we gonna be discussing this, May career?
I don't have it on the agenda. What do you have?
The
Renovations to make career, go ahead.
Yeah, did you wanna bring that up?
Sure.
She wants an answer, right?
That's committee reports.
Yep.
It's open.
We met with, Paul and I met with Mel today for the Recreation Committee, and she took us down to May Courier, and she has a list of things that she would like to work on. And one of the things was to replace the floor in May Courier, and also replace the old cabinets, and add more to those, where they can put the microwave, et cetera. Replace a single basin with a double basin, and replace the faucet and add a new countertop. She's got quotes. Obviously, she's go out and do more work. She didn't want to proceed if we were going to say no. But she was talking about $10,000 in total which she had funds available in the parkland deposits for May Courier for $4,900, and in the parkland deposits, she had $1,178, which was a total of $6,092, and she has available $4,000 hers, which would be about $10,000. She got a quote from Lee Appliance and from Marty's Carpet for the floor. And I'm not sure what our long-range plans are for May Courier. It's obviously the most used building. It's used all the time, and it's rented out quite a bit.
I kind of agree, and I know we talked a little bit earlier, Tom, if we're gonna spend 10 grand on May Courier, I'd like May Courier to be bigger. And 10 grand towards making it bigger would put a pretty good dent, I would think, in just slab on grade, pushing that out, pouring some footings and pushing that. But I don't know. The other thing I don't know is if you're gonna do that and push it out into the parking lot, what the condition of the roof is. Because that's the key. If you've gotta do roof work, then it isn't gonna matter, build anything off there you want, put a new roof on it, and be done. But if you don't have to do roof work for 10 more years, then there isn't a whole lot of sense in using up the 10 years we have in that roof and putting something over it, building on, and adding 10, and taking away the 10 years of life we still have in that roof. Even though the building could be bigger.
But it could be bigger without having to replace the whole roof, couldn't it?
It could, yes. If you go the long way. I'm not convinced that's the right thing to do, but I mean, I looked at it. I'm not going to profess I'm an expert. I didn't think the cabinets were in such atrocious repair that we should spend $3,000 putting new ones in. I just did, not for a rental that we charge people $50 to use it, and in a lot of places, if they're not for profits, we give the building to them and let them use it for free. The floor is a little bit different. I didn't like the floor is scratched up. It's certainly marked up. But the tile is all down solid. There's nothing loose. There's nothing broke. There's nothing chipped. There's nothing cracked. I don't know if there's a way to refinish. Maybe you know, I don't know if there's a way to polish it down and wax it good. And I told her that before we spend, in her money, $6,500 to put a new floor in there, I'd like to talk to like Mike Jodwin and say, is there something we can do to that floor to bring back the shine and make it look good? Because we're facing a lot more repair in Town Hall for carpet than putting a small floor in May Courier like that. And to spend $6,000 on a floor for a building that, again, I mean, people use it for an hour and they're gone. I just don't think that it's got to be the center of attention. I didn't think it was so bad that we should rip it up. Now, if the tiles were coming up and they were trip hazards and broke and cracked, I would 100% agree that it was time to do something. But
And if the cabinets aren't broke, okay?
I mean,
if
the bottom
you can
corner
get
is
them painted.
scuffed up a
I
little
mean-
bit. There's some places where I mean, Tom, what'd she say? There are places that maybe need to be, you know, the finish was coming off a little bit. I mean, I'd be glad to go out and take pictures, and in 2 weeks bring the pictures of all that back to the board and show you, or we, I mean, you guys can all go out and look at it yourself.
Has she checked, I mean, did she find out what Art's crew could do as far as building cabinets? I take a look at the work that they
You
did.
don't need even build it.
I-
Doors?
I got kitchen cabinets, okay? Guess what? They're getting repainted.
Amen.
There's nothing wrong with the cabinets.
I-
The cabinets are fine. They're just a look, you know, they're a little
Why,
weathered
yeah.
because, you know, there's a certain age to them. And, you know, Jerry Hamill's looking at them for me, and Jerry says, Marty, he said, why the hell would you spend $10,000 on new cabinets when you can spend $1,600 and get them all painted?
And again, if this was my kitchen, might be a different discussion, but then it's my money. I wouldn't spend taxpayer money replacing those
Yeah, it's in
cabinets.
a rental unit.
I mean, I don't think there's anybody that rents an apartment that would replace those cabinets for a rental customer. I just don't. I mean,
Well, perhaps we could, as you said, explore it further with Mike Joe and see what else.
I hate the fact that I hate to try and bring Arthur into Mel's business. I mean, I mean, you know that's.
Yeah. You and I talked a little while about, we touched on some of this, and I don't profess to be an expert either. I've only talked to a couple different groups that have ever used the building or used it within the last year. The only complaint I ever got was that it wasn't cool enough in the summertime. they asked if an air conditioning unit could be put in there. And I said, I'll bring it to the board, I don't know what we're gonna be facing for budget. But again, we're not talking anywhere near $10,000 to put an air conditioning unit that would
No.
cool that building,
It's a window unit for that room.
Right,
really.
exactly.
But that's I've never heard a complaint about the quality of the flooring, I've never heard a complaint about the
Well, and
the
the other
condition.
thing, I mean,
Pricing for the flooring, is that for carpeting or is
the
that for new
one
tile?
option, one option was to lay, well, they say skim coat over the existing floor, which I'm totally against, because if there is any tile that's loose, now you're gonna loosen the substrate, and you're gonna have the problem on the next layer up anyway. The other one was to remove the existing tile and put a new subfloor in, which I didn't really understand, because the subfloor there's nothing wrong with. I think they've got them mixed up in that they would put a new subfloor over that floor and put new tile down, or take the tile up and put new tile in, one or the other. Which, and I couldn't understand either, because option A, which, on what she's given us, do a skim coat over the existing floor and lay a new floor over it, was $7,710 at Lee Appliance. Option B would be to remove the tile, lay a new subfloor and flooring, and that would be $6,435. Well, there's no way you're putting a new plywood subfloor in there and tile
Yeah.
cheaper than you're flash patching over it and putting new tile. There's just no way it's cheaper. So
I think maybe it's the labor involved in doing the skim coating, because putting the plywood is less labor intensive.
but you gotta take up the tile.
Not with the skim coat, aren't they talking about?
No,
skim coat
the
going
second
over?
one being cheaper is to remove the existing
Remove
tile
the
and then
tile.
put a new subfloor down.
I agree.
It was mind-boggling how we got to, and then Marty's was only option A, to do a skim coat over the floor and lay a new floor over it, which again, I don't think that's a wise idea when you're, I mean, you're replacing the floor because you're replacing it. If you don't get down to the root of the problem, and they said there's maybe a wave in there, well, there's a steel beam going lengthwise of the building, and then the floor trusses are going across the short way of direction of the building, basically from the parking lot to Tommy King's house. If there's a little wave in there, where she was talking about, it's certainly in the steel beam, and it's held up underneath by floor jacks. Any one of them could be lowered down and take the. So I can't believe that steel beam moved, if at all. So I'm not in favor of spending $10,000 to do any of this work. And the other,
Have you two been there and looked at what she's talking about?
yes, we went there with her today. I mean, Tom, I don't know what your feeling is on the condition of it.
Well, you know, I'm not sure, I would want to present the town. If it was my own, I probably wouldn't do anything. But then I don't do anything, I don't have to.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
I guess the question that I would ask is, has anybody asked how many complaints we received on the quality of the building? Or is this just coming from our department head who would like to beautify a little
Well,
bit?
I think it was just it
Maybe
really
the
wasn't
latter.
for us to make a decision right now, it was just a feeling of, you know, what did we.
Well, no, I think, I got the
I
impression
think-
she wanted to go and do this as winter work, Tom. That was, that she wants to do it like,
and my reading on the thing also is, we have people who take ownership to, whatever's in their accounts,
Mhm.
all right? And just because the money's there doesn't mean we gotta spend it. And like you said, we may well find ourselves, maybe what we should be doing is we should be going for, maybe 6 years from now, we're gonna sit there and we're gonna say, now's the time to do an addition on that building.
you might want to remember too, we haven't resolved the Katyville issue, and 10 grand
Oh,
is 10 grand in the bank right now.
That's
Absolutely.
another excellent point.
absolutely.
It's another excellent point.
And I'll tell you the other thing that I walked out of there with, and actually I talked to Bernie this afternoon about, mostly with Treadwell's Mills. I mean, we put an oven in there, and I specifically asked the question, when we rent that out to a group, we allow them to warm things up, do whatever. Nobody goes back into that building after they've used it to check and make sure the oven was turned off or whatever. I mean, we're there's no policy to say, well, somebody used it Saturday from 12 to 4. Nobody goes into that building, I would guess, until the cleaner goes in on Monday to find out that maybe they left the heat up at 85 and one burner of the stove on. I mean, there's no, and Mel said, no, they don't go in, back in and check that,
And
so,
she'd probably tell you if they did, they'd have to raise the rate, you know what I mean?
right.
And that, you know, they may be trying not to have to do that, but at the same time, you got a liability.
A huge
What
liability with
is
the
the rate
stove.
anyways?
I mean, if it was up to me, I'd yank the stove out of there and say, you got a microwave, that's what you got.
But the,
There isn't near the liability
the
there.
fact is, the people that have used the building is still very
And
responsible.
charge extra
Yeah,
amount
they've
if
been
somebody
good.
wants to use the stove.
For the most part, they're good. They
And
clean
would
it,
go
they
up-
do.
They would go to a night switch. We're,
Right.
I asked her the question because that came up, and I asked her, I says, somebody goes in on Friday, and somebody else is coming in on Saturday or Sunday. I said, who goes in and looks at the building to be sure it's right? And she said, the people who rent the building have the responsibility to return the building to the shape care it was in when they got there. And she said, if they don't, they never get to rent another building.
I believe that's in the agreement too.
And that's explained, and she said, we don't have a problem. She said, I probably got 2 people that we've had to say, you don't get to use the town building.
I just saw, when I saw the stove sitting there, and we have the same thing in Treadwell's Mills, which prompted me to say, JCEO uses that building, and do they have an insurance policy that names us additionally insured, because their personnel use the building? If they leave it on and we, you know, do they have any insurance? Because if we go and use somebody's, I mean, we use the fair thing, we have to insure that building.
Yep.
So I didn't know if they do or not. If they don't, we need to have that happen.
Well, we're
So.
gonna check that out. My only 2 cents in the discussion is, if I'm gonna put money in there, the first thing I'd like to do is enlarge the building. The only complaint I've ever heard, and it's not a lot, is that it's small for some of the groups.
And she did a great job, I think it was last year, when they did the wainscoting on the side and put that the trim stuff. I mean, that building is really a good-looking building when you walk in, simply by that dress-up. It really sharpened that building up, took away from the plain walls, it really made it look nice. There's no question that that's probably the nicest building we have.
Who rents the building? Who's the typical tenant?
Birthdays, showers,
Oh, yeah,
parties.
it's the most rented
weddings.
building in town.
and it's seniors group.
Seniors.
And they charge, Marty said about $50?
$50 on the weekends. If you're not for profit, it's 0 Monday through Thursday. Isn't that what she said, Tom? Friday she charges $50. If you use it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's $50 per use.
Is that still used for elections or not anymore?
Not
Or what?
Oh, we just
They're getting the
discontinued
election.
it.
consolidated.
Not
Yeah,
anymore.
that's
No,
It's here now.
It's gonna be all here.
73 non-resident.
70 if you're a non-resident. Right.
Okay, any other discussion on May Courier? I think, I don't have a copy, it looks like the 2 of you have a report, I'd like that for the record. Do you have another, do you want me to?
No, make a copy and
for
stick
you?
one in my mailbox.
All right.
Let's talk about it more.
There's some more on the back of that, but it has to do, and I know you're dealing with the Katie'ville thing, and that's on the back. And what was the other thing, Tom? The Treadwell's Mills.
The Treadwell's Mills, I think we're all pretty much in agreement.
Yeah, moving them to the
Wanna
back
clean up
office
that
and-
building.
So
I mean, last I've heard, but I think we should give another, you know, I don't think we're gonna have any problem with that. What they wanna do is move JCEO in the back room, but we also talk about JCEO, how many people come.
Brook Crew's gonna do that
Well,
work,
they get
right?
a lot of people in there, so.
which
They get a lot of people.
Treadwell's Mills?
yes.
Yeah.
What
Driving or walking?
Both.
Do we need to see some figures?
How many people did you say, Marty?
I didn't give them a number, I just said they get a lot of people in there. I mean, I've talked with Bruce Garcia, and he said, you know, they service in particular the trailer parks in Treadwell's Mills and the trailer park over in Abnaki. That's where those people go to access
He
those
gave us a report
services.
on
They
it.
don't go downtown.
He gave us a report a month or so ago.
Right.
So there's always been very good numbers. I've gone to a few of their meetings. There's always been very good participation at that point.
Yeah.
Well, the question was brought up as to, you know, whether they drive there or whether they walk there.
If people are driving there, can they just as easily drive to the city and us not have that building,
I
have the
think,
whole building available to our use? That's what the discussion
For
is.
rental and stuff too.
I don't know the answer to that, but I would almost imagine that you have as many walk-ins as you have people driving to that location, again, because of
Yeah.
its proximity to the parks out there.
I don't have any data, but I'd like to agree with you, but I bet most people drive across the road to go there, because that's what they do.
That was gonna
I've
be
never
my
seen
bet.
crowds
That's-
of people on the side of the road.
That actually was my bet at our meeting.
That's probably a very good point, but you know, just because they have the ability to drive, do we take that area away from them?
We're not in austerity yet. I think doing the move that Mel's talked about will open it up and we'll be able to use
And I
it.
think we tighten it up like Paul had mentioned too, with the use of the phone and stuff like that. We let Bruce know that, you know, there is a cost to the taxpayers of the town of Plattsburgh for that phone. If you are going to be utilizing the phone, then that's going to be reflected also in the support the town gives you.
Mhm.
Or we're going to expect to be reimbursed for the use of the phone in that building. What were you talking, a month out of there?
Release him the space for $1 a year,
50.
and he's a tenant. and
It was
he has to-
$50 a
have to
month
put
to
their
throw in
own
there.
phone in.
Huh?
And put their own phone in.
Yeah.
End of the conversation.
Yeah.
Use a cell.
Did he ask us to put in the phone?
No, but
They
Paul had
use
brought,
ours.
Paul, when we were talking about the Cornerstone thing, Paul had,
Oh, yeah,
had
okay.
looked at it, and the town has a phone in that building, which
You
we're
divide
paying
that
for.
room, they're not gonna have a phone anymore. The phone's gonna be on our side.
Right.
Their
Well, we-
side that's isolated, bring your cell
I
phone.
think in all fairness, we
phone.
need to make sure that they know that that phone goes with our part of
When
the
are we
building.
starting to be fair?
2013.
Oh, okay.
Do they have internet there?
I don't think they do.
Oh, you mean wired into the building? They got remote cell phone
Wi-Fi,
access?
no.
Wi-Fi is out.
No, but, well, somebody must put some kind of an internet service in there. How do they, how does their computer hook to their computer down at the
No, she
JCO
does with the
headquarters?
computer. Maybe
Dial-up.
doesn't.
Maybe dial-up.
Maybe she
That's
just
why
does
our
hard
phone bill's
copy
so
of
high.
forms. Oh, maybe she doesn't though. I don't know if she does in her computer.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know
She
either.
plays games, I don't know.
Good questions for
Could
Mel.
just be filling in forms, I don't know. But if they have, but if they're gonna have their own side of the building, they provide their own needs.
Yes. Was that it that we had, Tom?
Yeah, that was it. I mean, the other stuff was just what they're doing.
What they're doing for programs and what have you, and the Katyville thing, you're all over that anyway, so.
Yeah. We're just a general comment. I continue to have conversations concerning that. As soon as we have something that I feel I can bring to you, in that negotiations, we'll do so. To this point, our position hasn't changed. I guess theirs hasn't a whole lot either, so we'll see what's next. Anyone have anything else for the evening? Any other committee reports, comments? Then,
I think Notre Dame wasn't playing, Notre Dame doesn't play football, do they? Oh, I'm just
I'm going to
curious.
adjourn us at 9:50.
Not well anyways.
How'd you like to start public comments now?
I could talk to you about the Save